Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Well, I will assure you, my friends, this is going to be a Tuesday edition of the worldwide broadcast on this 26th day of March 2013 that you will not want to miss. A couple days ago, Jim Carrey, the comedian and Hollywood star, he's a star and you're not. He's got bodyguards and you don't. And so does Michael Moore, but that's okay. He put out a video that only broke in the press yesterday. That's when I saw it and when I noticed it was in a lot of newspapers, lauding him in a very, very nasty piece, demonizing a dead man, Charlton Heston. And in the attitude of this, we see the same attitude of Dianne Feinstein and Al Gore and all the other anti-gunners like Michael Moore. In it, we see the incredible nastiness where they say it's his fault people die, period. And then he's not going to heaven. And then he's basically a murderer. I have the text of it right here. We're not going to play it. It's got profanity in it. But the video is up on Infowars.com. But, you know, what's bad is I've never been a huge Jim Carrey fan, but he has had some decent roles. And I'm getting to where I can't hardly go see movies. And I won't watch movies that have people in them that, it's not that they disagree with me. If somebody was really fooled and said, hey, I don't think we should, the citizens should have guns, like Jim Hightower, who was in studio with me last week on the Nightly News, we're going to play a clip of that today, former Texas agriculture commissioner and kind of a organic activist who I respect on that front. He calmly explained why he doesn't think we need semi-autos, then had to admit the government's arming to the teeth, so why should we give our guns up? I mean, he had a real discussion with me. But when you start making fun of people that were amazing human beings like Charlton Heston, I got a chance to interview Charlton Heston a couple times. I mentioned it a few years ago. People didn't believe it, so we could barely find one of the interviews. One of them is lost. There's a 8-bit horrible internet recording that's now been put up to YouTube. And I can't find another interview I did with him. And he gave me his home phone number after I had him on the first time and said, if you ever need to talk strategy about the Second Amendment or liberty, you can call me. And I said, I can call you? And he goes, yeah, I'm a regular guy. And I called up and, I didn't call him for about a year. It was just weird having Charlton Heston's phone number. I don't call really any of the famous people I know for whatever reason. They've got their life, I've got mine. And I called a few times, he didn't answer. I called back one day, he answered. Hi, this is a Chuck. And I was sitting there talking. I've had Ted Nugent's cell phone number for a while, never called it. I called it this morning, driving into work about an hour ago. And he goes, what are you calling about what Carrey said about Heston? And I'm all over it. And I've never heard him so focused and so angry, focused anger. And he said, you bet I'm coming on your show. I got to do Dennis Miller, and he's doing it right now, and then he's going to come on at noon. And he said, listen, this is another miscalculation. His nastiness is going to backfire on them just like Piers Morgan. And, of course, he agrees that the Piers Morgan thing was a Death Star exploding level event for the globalists. And I'm not just patting myself on the back. I didn't realize it till a few days after just how effective it was. I was I'm my own biggest critic, and I was like, yeah, I think it was good to get in his face. They tried to spin it so neocons would say, this is terrible. Standing up and getting aggressive is the wrong way to go. Why, it's almost like Paul Revere, who rode around screaming in the night saying, kill people. I'm just yelling at somebody a little bit and saying, how dare you try to disarm us? How dare I talk like that? I mean, imagine, that's not even 1/10 as bad as that criminal Paul Revere. So it totally backfired on him. But we're going to go over this, and we're going to go over all the geopolitical news, the economic news. It's all crazy, but the tyranny is on, folks. And if they can get our guns, they're going to get everything. But we're going to be breaking this down today and more, and your phone calls. Stay with us. Ted Nugent coming up.
crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Make no mistake, my friends, the battle for human liberty is taking place right now. And the heart of that fight is here in the United States, because the United States will either be an engine for the globalists to loot and pillage the world, or it will once again become an engine of innovation and liberty and that shining fortress on the hill. Ladies and gentlemen, something snapped in me last night when I saw a video that came out a few days ago, but only got attention in the news yesterday by the somewhat washed up Canadian anti-individualist Jim Carrey. I saw a video of him celebrating Charlton Heston's death and defaming him, defaming a dead man who I personally had a chance to interview several times and who I had a chance to talk to off air once. And I've never told that story because was private. I will talk a little bit about it today. And I had a chance to talk to Ted Nugent this morning, who you could tell was very upset because he was very close friends with Charlton Heston. When you see people that are clearly authoritarians dancing on patriots' graves, it's disgusting. Charlton Heston, as he got older, became even more of a gentleman and more of a real person. I don't even admire him for his great acting ability and all of his wonderful films that I have enjoyed throughout my life, like Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments. The list is just countless. The films he did with great directors like Orson Welles, Soylent Green. I admired him because I'm working in talk radio and fighting for the Second Amendment, got to know a lot of people that really knew Charlton Heston well, and he was really a super down-to-earth, super manly, classy guy in amongst a bunch of spoiled, rotten, lazy, pampered Hollywood people. And the fact that I had his home phone number, and he said, if you ever want to talk about strategy or anything happening, give me a call. So about a year after I had his number, and he'd been on a few times, I called him a few times, and he didn't answer because nobody answered. It was just an office phone. And one day he said, well, if I can ever pick up, I will. And he picked up the phone, and I talked to him, 20, 30 minutes. And I didn't even tell my wife about it. And, he talked about one of my films he'd seen and about how, it was up to younger people like myself to carry on the fight. And the point was he was really taking time out to give me energy. He really cared. He sat there talking to more than 50 people most weeks, working hard. And I know it made his wife so angry. That's come out in the press, that he really had an instinct. And you watch his eyes in that famous NRA speech. We all see, hindsight's 20/20. Heston obviously made mistakes in political endorsements and things, but he was a trailblazer. He was somebody who marched with Martin Luther King when it wasn't popular. He was somebody that went and was part of civil rights sit-ins in Oklahoma and Alabama when people were getting killed. He didn't come to the whole thing late. As Mark Twain said in the beginning, a patriot is a scarce man, hated and feared and scorned. But in time when his cause succeeds, the timid join him, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. And just even after, and then it was like a year or two after I talked to him, because I had his number. I didn't want to bug him. I didn't want to bother him. That, then his wife rolls him out, obviously on medication, to say, oh, well, I probably went a little too far sometime, and then you never saw him again. They put him on 20/20. And And I knew people that have talked to him right up at the time that he just suddenly, clearly on medication, didn't know who he was. Kind of like they did to Ronald Reagan to shut him up. And to just know that this was a guy who from the time that he was a young man in Illinois and then living in Michigan and places, hunted and fished, and was somebody who really loved freedom and was a civil rights activist, not just for the Second Amendment, but for free speech. I heard him once on a local ad endorsing a state rep who was, what was his name, Green, who was fighting for vitamin and mineral rights. You know, and then I heard Heston later on the radio locally defending supplements. I mean, he just defended freedom. And then to watch some sack of pus like Jim Carrey gleefully trash him up one side and down the other, it didn't get to me and hurt me in the way they thought. How low they were, how pathetic and how weak they were. And to watch all the bad actors running around and the, quote, cute girls, and then they laugh at Heston at the end and say, you know, it's your fault all the kids died, and you're not going to heaven because you're a gun owner. And then they all laugh at him, thinking that people watching that collectively, are supposed to then feel bad about guns and be ashamed. And it was so shoddy. And you know what made me feel bad? Because Jim Carrey is such a bad actor, making a few funny faces, that they're so weak and Hollywood's so weak and the globalists really are weak. And so what does it say about us that we let them dominate us and we let them control us and we let them sit there and walk all over somebody? Let me tell you something. I've got stacks of interview requests in there every day, and I can't physically do them. Okay? I am 39 years old and have a lot of stamina, ladies and gentlemen, and it is torture sometimes to do the nightly news, but I'm so angry at the tyrants, I roll up and do it. I was up here till like 7:30 last night shooting a special reports we're going to air this week. My shoulder was aching and from an old football injury, and I had a headache, and I hadn't eaten, but I still just willed it. And I'm not saying I'm tough. 39 years old, folks, having to fight to get the info out and feeling guilty every night when I drive home that I haven't done enough to defend my family, and that I'm weak and I'm dominated by scum. And that's exactly how Charlton Heston felt. Almost 80 years old, ladies and gentlemen. On the phone and on airplanes and giving speeches everywhere to defend freedom because he had that instinct. And I hadn't seen his NRA speech in years. And I watched that last night, and I got tears in my eyes when he talks about how it's the patriot that smells the tyranny and rises up against it, and what all of our ancestors did to stand up against evil. To have flocks of anti-liberty foreigners from countries that are subjects to the Queen of England that we fought against, Canadians and Brits and others, who are great people on average, but their political instincts are that of slaves. They were raised under it. To come here and lecture us and to tell our dead hero that he's a piece of crap that didn't go into heaven and that the dead kids are his fault, I take that very, very, very personal. They'll love to make fun of me when I'm dead or you're dead. These people have set up re-education centers. It says that in the Army manual. These people have plans to take our guns. They have plans to use the police against us. And it's time to rise up politically and get super aggressive. I wish I would have been more aggressive with Piers Morgan. It's time to realize just how evil these people are. Sure, I'm sure Jim Carrey's, obviously mentally ill. I watched film footage of him last night doing some research when he's just out in public and stuff and doesn't even know he's being filmed. He's obviously autistic or something. I feel sorry for him. Okay? He's just a circus freak. But the people that rolled him out there, they are our mortal enemies. Folks, they're not just taking the Second Amendment. They're taking everything right now. They're shutting down our energy. They're dumbing our kids down. They're shooting us up with deadly vaccines. They are arming al-Qaeda. Look at this. Obama, post-Assad Syria of Islamist extremism is a nightmare scenario, saying we'll have to invade when they put al-Qaeda in, arm them, and then we've got to have troops go down to take it over, to put in some al-Qaeda light. I mean, this is insane. This is crazy. There's the London Guardian. I mean, I declare that I'm going to live in reality We have become so accustomed to living under oppression. We have become so accustomed to all of this. And just to know how anti-individual these status worshipers are, like Jim Carrey and the rest of them, because, you know, the globalists are just hardcore criminals with their own bodyguards and their own guns, and they have a will to dominate. I get it. I don't like it, but I respect it. And I know that's an enemy who's conscious. But the throngs of the mindless, gibbering followers that think literally are scared of defending themselves, scared of being a human, scared of being a mammal. All mammals protect themselves and fight back. You can grab a field mouse that's in your glove compartment out in the country. Sometimes they get in your car, and you're trying to get them out nicely, and they'll kick at you and snap at you. And I've had a field mouse bite me, trying to get it out of a farm truck I was working on when I was a kid. I was like 13 years old, out driving a farm truck out to a shredder. The point is that field mouse will fight back. I mean, are we men or are we mice? Hell, we're not even mice. And just what have we become, my sweetest friend? Everything and everyone I love goes away in the end. And then I've got to sit there and I've got to watch this piece of garbage squat on top of the grave of Charlton Heston and all of us. They hate him because he was real, he was honorable, and he got tears in his eyes when he talked about liberty. And he quoted Thomas Jefferson talking about the farmers, the people of the earth, the people that live and work. You can't really live and work in the soil and build your own system and not be pro-gun, just as you're pro-liberty. Just as you're pro-common sense, we must rediscover common sense, the spirit of common sense. We must pray for redemption. We must seek God's face and repent. We're going to come back with the desecration of Charlton Heston.
Imagine if the Lord were here and he knew what you've been thinking. Would his sacred heart be sinking into the canyon of despair? And on the ones who sell the guns, he'd sick the vultures and coyotes. Only the devil's true devotees could profiteer from.
And he goes on, that's Jim Carrey, saying that the kids are dead because of Charlton Heston, that the coyotes are killing people in Mexico because of Charlton Heston. I mean, it goes on for like 5 minutes, just blaming everything in the world on him and saying he's not going to heaven, that he will basically go to hell. And it's just totally nasty. And then Carrey put out tweets calling gun owners scum. We're guilty for dead kids. What about government killing 260+ million people in the 20th century alone and tens of millions already this century? I mean, you're not upset about government having guns. Do you actually sit there and call 911 if somebody's trying to break in your gated community? No, you don't. You have bodyguards. I looked it up. You have firearms, Mr. Carrey. You were out here blaming us for death when crime rate has dropped 49% since 1991, FBI's own statistics. Hard numbers. Violent crime. Violent criminals are scared, and your spirit is with the criminals. And the globalists are the master criminals. And they, when a robber comes into a bank, they say, hands up, and they tell the off-duty cop, lower your gun, put it on the ground, and that's the guy they put in handcuffs or tie up. And it's the same thing. The globalists are, hands up. They've got guns. They're buying guns. They're buying tanks. They're buying armored vehicles. And they're pointing guns at us saying, hands up. Now, listen to just part of Charlton Heston's speech. He gave back at the NRA more than a decade ago this famous speech where he said, from my cold, dead hand. But listen to the intro of it where he talks about the people that first sense the tyranny. And you can see the electricity in his eyes. Even though he's old, he animates. And that's why he was a great actor, because it was passion. It was real. He animates. And again, we are then one with Charlton Heston and every other patriot that came before him, right back to George Washington and patriots before them who did not like tyrants and who had courage. I mean, if you don't have the basic instinct to want to be free, if you don't have the basic instinct to know that tyranny's taking over, then you have no future. Look at how weak we become. Look at how jellyfish. And then those of us that are still men, those of us that are still women, still human, still have an instinct to be self-sufficient, we are guilty for what your Prozac heads do and your staged events. Let's go to Charlton Heston. From the grave, he lives on. Charlton Heston lives, and I know you hate it, tyrants. Here it is.
When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. That's why those 5 words issue an irresistible call to us all, and we must. So, as we set out this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away, I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed from my cold, dead hands.
And when we come back, I'm going to play a larger clip of that. It was a longer speech. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this system is fundamentally erasing every basic liberty. And it is always the common people that wake up and turn back the tide of total authoritarianism. But in most countries, that hasn't happened, so there's no productivity, there's no liberty, there's no due process, so everything crumbles and falls apart because the instinct of tyrants is to finally not let anyone even produce, because then that makes you self-sufficient and basically uppity. We are fighting a total Agenda 21 takeover system worldwide. We are fighting abject social engineering, and we're facing authoritarians that cloak themselves in the rubric of liberal or humanitarian, where they tell you they have the high ground and you're bad unless you do what they say. Well, I refuse your mantle of guilt. And again, it doesn't mean we go follow the fake Republicanoid conservative rhinos either. That's how the globalists took over, is they have that as the stand-in so that they can make it look like there's a full spectrum of choice. Carroll Quigley wrote about that in his Georgetown writings and in Tragedy and Hope, how they wanted it to look like there was choice, but there wasn't. And when you look at the vitriol, the hatred, I mean, Michael Moore comes out and says evil whites want guns, evil whites that live in the country and make $60,000 a year. And that sounds so crazy, but it shows the hatred they have for anybody who's self-sufficient and how they want to create division. We'll be right back. Stay with us with the full Heston clip.
Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. we're here. Ted Nugent, good friend of Charlton Heston, is going to be joining us at the start of the next hour. If they can stick their hands down our pants at the TSA, if they can take your property without due process, if they can secretly arrest Americans and disappear us, if they can openly say they're spying on us and reading all of our bank records. Remember just 6-7 years ago, that was a conspiracy theory. Of course, it came out they were. If they can throw the gauntlet down and have us accept it, and then openly have the Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL demonize anyone that talks about the billions of bullets, the thousands of armored vehicles, hundreds of thousands of new rounds being bought a week, the militarization of police. This is the takeover, and they're trying to use psych warfare like Tokyo Rose broadcasting to the Pacific Fleet and Admiral Nimitz saying, you've been defeated. America will be invaded. Your ships are being sunk. Even as Japan was burning and it had atomic bombs dropped on it, Tokyo Rose was broadcasting saying America had been defeated. Just like Baghdad Bob saying, there are no Americans in Iraq, we have kicked them out of the country. You see jets flying behind him and bombs going off. Well, it's the same type of propaganda to go, there are no bullets, there are no checkpoints, there is no tyranny, there is no Fast and Furious, we didn't give billions to fake energy companies, we didn't do anything wrong, we want to get America moving while they shut down the power plants, while they pass regulations so you can't have any business here, shipping it all to China. The globalists are authoritarians who hate Americans so much, their instinct is to hate liberty. that they're moving everything to authoritarian China where they have suicide nets, forced abortions, mobile execution vans, and you will never hear a Jim Carrey or anybody else criticize the communist Chinese that have killed more than 100 million of their own people, close to 80 million, some estimates, just under Mao's reign. 100 million people, not counting 300 million abortions, not counting over 100 million babies killed. They don't even count babies as humans up to about age 1, the government. Notice the Journal of Bioethics has come out and said, oh, let's kill kids up to age 3. Now the death panels are admitted. Remember, those didn't exist. These are authoritarians. And the Republican Party went along and helped write Obamacare because it's written by the same big equity groups that are taking over our energy systems and shutting off their competition. And they're making double the profits this year alone they're set to make off of Obamacare, ripping you off and doubling the price and making you buy it. Okay, we're in deep trouble. And just like Bush could engage in tyranny, and Republicans wouldn't see any of it because he was their guy, you so-called Democrats are absolutely useful idiots. You are dupes and you are fools. Now, here is another segment of Charlton Heston's speech where he is really speaking to the essence of the instinct to recognize tyranny. And I mean, it's blaring now. I heard it when it was like a 100-piece band down the road, but you could hear it, hear the beat, hear the words, you know, very, very clear. You could hear the marching band and the sergeant leading them up, 2, 3, 4. You could hear the whole thing. Now the 100-piece band is in the living room beating the drums as loud as they can. You can't hear anything. It's so loud. And people are saying, if you say you hear a sound of tyranny, it doesn't exist. It is going, and this is what happens. By successive approximation, incrementalism, and compartmentalization, and learned helplessness, and mass Stockholm syndrome, and normalcy bias, look all those things up, and the Stanford Research Prison Experiment test, they are artificially, by increments, people denied things were happening. They denied things were going on. The media, the authorities, the government said, oh, then none of that exists. Well, really, a black helicopter crashed in our town. They blew up a building. They arrested citizens that videotaped it. It's in my local paper. No, you didn't see that. Well, yeah, I have the local paper. No, you didn't. That's national TV. No, you didn't. Ron Paul, CNN said, is making up a NAFTA superhighway Trans-Texas corridor that was in billboards and signs, cover of Newsweek, but when people turned against it, they came out and said doesn't exist. I've played the clip where CNN says Ron Paul is insane. This is like 5 years ago during that campaign. There is no Trans-Texas corridor. Texans were like, the billboards are everywhere. They're building part of it right now from Mexico up to Austin. It's going to go all the way to Canada. You told us it was a great idea. And they're like, didn't exist. And a lot of the public went, okay, it didn't exist. Because to win is to buy the lie. To win is to be a schmuck. To win is to be a sucker. To win is to be a fool. To win is to buy into illusion and delusion. Well, no, that's the illusion. That is not to win, being some cult member where Thulsa of Doom, says to one of the cult members up 500 feet on a ledge, come to me, my child, fly, fly. And then she jumps off and falls and smashes through the floor. That's what you people are like. And the New World Order is saying, we come in peace. I am your friend. There is no tyranny. Come to me, my child. Come to me. And I'm like, no, you're a snake like your father. You're the father of lies. I know what you are. I see you. I understand you. I am crazed with the animating force of liberty. You are animated with darkness, and I see you. I know what you are. And it's time to get aggressive in the face of the tyrants. People probably noticed I've gotten more intense because I have doubled and tripled and quadrupled down. I am trying to go, didn't breathe there for about a minute. I am trying to go as hard as I can against these people because I know the danger. I am fighting as hard as I can. And is some of it missteps? Do I make mistakes? Yes, but my heart is true. I know I'm right. It was so amazing talking to Ted Nugent today, driving into work, because it was even more animated in private. The things he was saying will remain private. But he was just like, Alex, we know in our gut and our heart, it's not just history. It's not just our supporters. We know we're right. We know these people are evil. And it's like, wow, this is a real guy. Because I called him up angry but focused, and he was just like a laser beam. And I could tell he holds back when he's on air. I'm going to tell Ted, really tell him what you stand for. Because it's strong, and it's that male strength and energy that is going to lead by example, and then the women who are strong are going to see that and follow. The system has sold the idea of men to act weak, to act passive, act pathetic, like you're some type of lapdog pet. And that is not even what women really want. The globalists have made the state the man and the society the woman, and we are wedded to the state and wedded to the devil. Just as the Bible says we become wedded to Christ. He's the bridegroom. Well, we've been wedded to the state, and Hitler said that. The state will be the father. What has Chris Rock said? Obama is our daddy. I heard Republicans say Bush is our father. They call Uncle Joe Stalin father. They call Fidel Castro papa. You're not my papa. I'm not a little boy. I'm a man. Oh, Fidel Castro can have guns. Hitler can have guns. Castro's minions can have guns, but you can't have guns. Mao can have a gun. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. We're going to go to this Heston clip in a moment. But you can't have a gun. And a dirty individualist like an Alex Jones or a Ted Nugent or a Charlton Heston, there's nothing nastier to the collectivist with their armed guards and Hollywood with all this government CIA funding and their weapons and their gated communities, gates behind gates. In Hollywood, you drive into a big gate with armed guards, and then there'll be another gate in a neighborhood to get into another gate, and then there'll be another gate on that house, and then a security office built off the side of the house. That's how they all live. And they sit there and say, you're a dirty piece of garbage collectively because you own guns to protect yourself. I mean, that is a fraud. And here's the deal. They put out plenty of fake polls as of late saying everybody supports gun control. But Forbes went and paid one of the biggest data mining companies that openly, with the cookies, spies on everybody, and they published it. And then other data mining companies came out and said, actually, it's a total explosion in your face. You've actually made people more pro-gun. It's over 70% that are pro-gun now. This has actually backfired. For a few weeks with the emotion, they got maybe a 10% reduction. People going, okay, I'll turn in my semi-auto, the weak-minded people. But then that made us supercharged with the truth in a counter-offensive, which they admitted in the data mining. It said it's military precision, smart bomb precision, that somehow we're networked. They can't understand it with the data mining services. You can read the Forbes and other articles about it, because not just Forbes, there's full reports on this. What scares them is they say it's as if we're connected. We're not. We're connected to our gut, to our spirit, to our common sense. And that's when I called Ted Nugent. He's like, Alex, you can feel it, can't you? He goes, we're connected to history and honor and the truth. He goes, you can feel it, can't you? Exactly. It's electricity. Because you think you're not connected to your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother. They raised a person, your ancestor, and that person grew in their womb and was conceived out of that love and that passion in that hot bed, with the genetics mixing, and then you grew in that woman's uterus, and then you came out in the world, and people took care of you and loved you and taught you and set you up on the path, and had to worry about you when you went off to war, and had to worry about you, but set you out there. It is hand-to-hand, a pure chain of electricity, a total connection. You can reach back if you're related to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, or if you're, and most of you have no idea who you're related to. There's an amazing history. Everybody has an amazing history. You are reaching back into tens of thousands of people that you're related to, and all of their experiences and everything they've done. There is a literal, not just spiritual or psychic connection. There is a physical transmission, and it's directly an electrochemical mitochondrial DNA carried by the women. And they're now finding genetic structures carried by the men on top of the genetics. They said that our chromosomes, our DNA is 94, 96% junk, and now they've learned, no, it's not. There's something else in there. It's the entire electrochemical history transmission recording. You call that your instinct, and man, you start tying into the race consciousness will of your ancestors. It is massive, it is mighty, and it is the gift that God has given us. And God's spirit of discernment energizes our very DNA. That's why so many scientists that were atheists are now becoming religious or Christians, because they go, oh my God, it's resonating, it's transmitting, it's transcending. And that's what all the biomechanical garbage of the devil is about, is to jam that and to block that and to openly sell you tyranny and evil. Tie in to your ancestors, tie in to God's will. And you will want to fight tyranny just like Charlton Heston did. It's almost 80 years old on the phone doing 40, 50, 60 interviews a week, sometimes 20 interviews a day. And he wouldn't even be pitching or selling something most of the time. He wouldn't even be plugging a website. He would be promoting liberty. Because he cared, because he was resonating with liberty. Now let's go to the Charlton Heston clip from the grave. He lives on. Here it is.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard. The smoke in the air of our Concord bridges and Pearl Harbors is always smelled first by the farmers who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight. Because they know that sacred stuff resides in that wooden stock and blued steel. Something that gives the most common man the most uncommon of freedoms. When ordinary hands can possess such an extraordinary instrument, that symbolizes the full measure of human dignity and liberty. That's why those 5 words issue an irresistible call to us all, and we muster. So,
I hope that when my days are spent, that I can say that I was an honorable man like
so as we set out
Charlton Heston
this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away, I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed, and especially for you, Mr. Gore. From my cold, dead hands.
And again, he was a truly honorable person. You can look back in hindsight and say, well, Bush was bad too. But none of us could know how bad. But imagine how bad Al Gore would have been using a 9/11 to totally take over. But the point is that Al Gore was saying ban semi-autos, make you turn them in. And Charlton Heston understood how dangerous that was. But the point is, in that speech, that timeless speech, we really see the hammer and the chisel that can be used to cut and break our chains. And really recognize that Hollywood isn't a bunch of liberal buffoons. These are globalist psych warfare technicians who have an agenda. And I've talked to many Hollywood people. If you're pro-gun, you don't get the roles. I've talked to major rock stars, and I'm not talking about Billy Corrigan or folks like Dave Mustaine, who are on record, but I've talked to other major rock stars, in fact, people that are even currently, you could say, bigger. And they're like, I can't come on your show. they're giving me too much heat just for linking to your website or talking about you. And I've been told that I'm not going to be booked in the venues or put back on television if I do this. So I want to go play the major venues. And they tell people that. You know, they come to them and they tell them. They tell famous country music singers that. They tell major rock stars that. They tell Hollywood stars that. They told Tom Selleck that. You're not going to get roles, pal. It doesn't matter if you're a major leading man, #1 in the 80s. You're done. You're not going to get financing. You're not going to get promoted. You're going to get 0 if you don't play ball. And then you've got people like Bruckheimer and folks that are totally committed to the New World Order, Steven Spielberg, others. It's just atrocious. And I don't like being a slave of propaganda. I don't like it. And it made me nauseous to see the patheticness of Jim Carrey and all these people. You know, folks are like, well, why do you care? They're just scum. The point is, yeah, why is this scum ruling us? Okay? They need to be overturned. Ted Nugent is coming up at the 5 after in the second hour to respond to just how they demonize gun owners and blame us collectively for any type of crime when we actually have lowered crime everywhere where we proliferated firearms. I mean, it's a no-brainer. But we're trying to argue with them with facts. They're criminals. The globalists know that if free people have guns. They know that's the basic instinct for us to be armed and that they want to be the ones with the guns. They fetishize guns. They fetishize state power. I mean, Buzz Bissinger and others on that show, a guy that admits he spends $600,000, you know, a year on women's clothing and stuff. I mean, just fine, whatever. Just compulsive maniac. Him and Piers Morgan get up there and talk about how they fantasize about him wearing a police uniform and killing me. And then the woman, the ambassador's daughter, Huntsman, goes, ooh, yeah, ooh. And they're all like, ooh, let's kill. It's because you haven't ever been in a fist fight. Maybe Piers Morgan has. You've never seen people die. Yeah, but you don't pull over when you see a car wreck. You know, when somebody's arm's chopped off and blood spraying 14 feet. You people are cowards. You're the people, if somebody's dying in the ditch, you walk on by. I see it. Or if somebody's choking in a restaurant, you call 911. You people are cowards, okay? It's more than that they're just authoritarians. They play at being authoritarians. But behind them are the real authoritarians that have millions of dead on their hands. The globalists. The UN is going around worldwide just lining up people and just shooting whole villages. And it's in the New York Times like it's no big deal. From El Salvador to Honduras to the Central Africa in the Congo, they're lining people up and shooting them. Oh, but you don't want those guns taken. Type in Chinese executions, thousands of photos at sports stadiums blowing 12-year-olds' heads off. For some reason, it's like teenagers that misbehave. Oh, you shoplifted? Boom, your head's blown off. Oh, you talk back to the cops? You're dead. We're going to harvest your organs. And they've got them bringing the dead bodies with sheets and blood into mobile execution vans where they chop their organs out. Oh, you're never going to hear Jim Carrey talk about that because he's an authoritarian pig worshiper. He worships evil. The same with all of them. They know what they're doing. Yeah, let's not, for TV viewers, good job throwing it up, but let's not put it on the main TV broadcast in case people don't want to look at it. It's unbelievable. Just type in Chinese executions. Type in Chinese suicide nets, and you search deep enough and take the safe search off, you could see shots of like 20, 30 bodies hanging, you know, dead that have bounced off the nets. And I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, mass suicides, hell on earth. Let's not discuss that. China launching drone armies, the globalists moving their command base there. They have execution parades in China. I mean, it's just incredible. And again, these aren't of child molesters or murderers. These are of people that... I saw one report where a Western journalist saw the police beat a guy up and chop his genitals off in front of everyone, and everybody watched him bleed to death there on the side of the street. I mean, you know, that's what the globalists want us to live like. That's their plan. Ted Nugent's coming up. Don't forget to support the broadcast, support our sponsors. We've got the Pro Pure water filters, 10% off. Best stainless steel filters. Blow the competition away. InfoWarsStore.com. Shop with the Patriots. Shop with the good guys. And support us to expand our operation in the globalist face. Get subscriptions to InfoWars Magazine, big glossy magazine. Give gift subscriptions to wake people up as well. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And don't forget, eFoodsDirect.com only does this every March. eFoodsDirect.com/Alex is where you find the special. Free shipping on all their deals. That is usually the biggest part of the storable foods cost. Free shipping. Only do it in March. 800-409-5633. 800-409-5633. Or eFoodsDirect.com/Alex.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Ted Nugent is scheduled to be on with us in the next segment to talk about the incredible demonization of gun owners and the new poster boy of distasteful, tyrannical worship of corruption and victim disarmament, the worship of statism and hypocrisy, the worship of pulling down real men. I'm talking about Jim Carrey, the obvious mentally ill twit, who put out a video, and I have the text of it here, where they say that Charlton Heston is responsible for the dead children in America, that he is a vulture and a coyote, and that he will not go to heaven, he will go to hell, and that he basically pulled the trigger on the children at Sandy Hook. That's basically what it implies. And they show him as a complete kook who believes that space aliens are going to exploit our every weakness and suck our brains out. I mean, it's just, and it's not even funny. And you watch it, a bunch of bad actors running around acting goofy, and it's not even a good piece. And and I don't want to hate Jim Carrey. I always knew there was something wrong with him. He's more of a geek. And people think of a geek as a guy that's into computers. Geeks were people at circuses that would bite the heads off of pigeons and animals and things. And, you know, the obese man, the bearded lady, that's a geek. It's called geeking. And he's a geek. And I guess we're all a geek at some level. I mean, you know, I have trouble maintaining my composure because reality is such a deep, wide spectrum of thought. But I'm just sick of hypocrites with armed guards and bodyguards and behind triple gates worth hundreds of millions of dollars, disdaining the common people who are having every basic liberty stripped away from them at an accelerated rate. We're having our liberties pulled away from us. And then what did Obama say when he didn't know he's being recorded to $1 million, type donors in San Francisco? He said, we're going to get these better clingers. All they've got is their Bibles and their guns. And, they're federalizing the churches, and they're going after the guns because they know they don't want you having your own beliefs, whether beliefs are right or wrong. They don't want you having beliefs that aren't theirs. They want you to be a biological android. They want to program you. They want you to turn your kids over to them so they can program them in the public schools. And I, for one, have had enough of it. I, for one, am just thinking of every way I can get aggressive, every way I can show the power of liberty, every way I can get in the face of the New World Order. And if that means they set me up, imprison me, kill me, whatever it is, that's the way it is, okay? Because that's not something I look forward to, but it's an honor. I mean, I am committed. And if everybody was committed, we'd turn this around very quickly. But people think groveling and living in denial They think that that is going to be somehow the road to victory. And it's not. It's the road to perdition. And so it's time to commit and to get past your fear and to become a leader and to stand up against these tyrants and say, we know you're authoritarians, we know you're criminals, we know you're hypocrites, we know you're our mortal enemy. There's always been horrible tyrants. There's always been corrupt gangs. There's always been groups that come in and try to take over. And now it's happening again. And the globalists are shutting America down as fast as they can to make you dependent on them. And they can just bring in the global garbage from countries they've already conquered. But we are aware of that historically and at a gut level. And we are together in history. And this is a challenge. This is a hell of a time to be alive. It's not work fighting tyranny. It's not work standing up for Chuck Heston. It is an honor. Just as generations after us, when we restore liberty, will stand up for us when we're being demonized. As you know, down the road, there'll still be tyrants. There'll still be scum. They'll be demonizing Ted Nugent, Alex Jones, Ron Paul after we're gone.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
It's been out for a couple days, but didn't get attention until last night. It was in some of the establishment prostitute media, the dinosaur media, praising Jim Carrey. I've seen him in interviews. I mean, I think he genuinely is mentally ill. He's kind of a geek. That's why it's funny to watch him. Literally denigrate and in this disgusting 5-minute song, and we're going to go over some of the lyrics to it here today, and it's got some profanity, so we won't play all of it. Say that gun owners, but that Chuck Heston, Charlton Heston, a true humanitarian, a true civil rights activist, a patriot, that he is guilty for dead kids, that he won't be going to heaven, and that he's mentally ill and believes in space aliens. And it was just so ham-fisted and so pathetic, I got angry, and I figured it out last night. I couldn't even go to sleep, folks, and I can go to sleep in like 1 minute. I can just turn my brain off. I was so upset I couldn't go to bed till like 2 in the morning. I shot like 3 videos for the YouTube channel because I realized these people are so pathetic and such liars and such hypocrites with their bodyguards and so anti-individual and so wrong and so authoritarian that I'm angry that we have not routed them out. Now, I called a very busy individual, but he's obviously very angry about what's happening as well. I talked to him this morning on his cell phone, Ted Nugent, who needs no introduction, NRA board member, top rock and roller, patriot, hunter. I called him on his cell phone a couple hours ago, and I said, can you come on about Charlton Heston? I know you were very good friends with him and really got him to get more hardcore on the Second Amendment. He said, absolutely. It was Ted Nugent that helped supercharge Charlton Heston into the fight at many levels. So here is his friend to defend Chuck, Charlton Heston, because he can't do it. He's dead. But again, Charlton Heston will live forever as long as liberty lives. And so understand that, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big deal when people literally desecrate the grave of a man who would do 50-plus interviews a week when he was almost 80 years old and who would travel the country for nothing, no money, to defend the Second Amendment. And I knew him. I had a chance to talk to him off air. He was the real deal and probably the classiest person I've ever had the pleasure to get to know a little bit. And I'll be honest, I don't envy many things. I envy Ted Nugent, being such good friends with him. Ted, you've got the floor, my friend. You've got the floor. Thank you for coming on, tednugent.com. I know you're about to go on your Black Power tour, and but we appreciate you giving us time today. Sir, you've got the floor.
Well, Alex, thank you for that. I appreciate it. But a salute back at you because there's no question that the great American legend and icon, a true warrior, a true hero, Charlton Heston, deserves nothing but respect from thinking, caring, conscientious, educated people. But again, as we talked before about the gift from God that Pierce Morgan represents, I mean, God literally sent Pierce Morgan from England to try to debate the Second Amendment. So you literally couldn't come up with Alfred E. Newman versus an audition for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to come up with a better representative of a guy who hates freedom and hates the Second Amendment and hates Ted much to defend Charlton Heston because, once again, God has sent a complete brain-dead, soulless punk to desecrate the absolutely well-earned and deserved glowing reputation of the great Charlton Heston. And what Jim Carrey has done, and I've been all over, we have a talkback at tednugent.com, and we have thousands of people from all around the world that come to celebrate self-evident truth and common sense. You know, the same communication that you get, Alex, from people who understand, you know, history, the evidence that brought us to the greatest experience and the greatest quality of life in America. And when a guy like Jim Carrey pulls off this kind of mean-spirited, soulless, I think the best word to describe Jim Carrey and Pierce Morgan and guys like, you know, Michael, I'm still looking for personal hygiene more. They're all one big gaggle of soulless punks. And I would understand, and I understand when a person is uneducated and ignorant and hates America and hates self-defense and doesn't believe in self-defense. But then again, if you examine Michael Moore and his armed security detail, if you examine Jim Carrey and his armed security detail, when you examine Michael Bloomberg and Governor Cuomo and Nancy, you don't have to read this, you need to sign it, Pelosi, and of course our favorite gun runner, Eric Holder, when you examine the freedom haters who hate guns and want to do everything on film, stating clearly they would take away all the guns if they could, these people are perfect to represent the other side because when they open their mouth, yes, we have an unfortunate and a tragic percentage of Americans who are more like sheep than we the people that support these freedom haters. When they speak, common sense America, people who have jobs, people who put their heart and soul into being the best that they can be, people who appreciate the gift of life, the sacred gift of life, and our moral, intellectual, and spiritual obligation to defend that life, and that the Second Amendment was written down to remind us we have the individual God-given right to defend that precious gift of life. Good people understand the pure rot from Jim Carrey. So, in his grave, Alex, let's really examine this. From the grave, the great Charlton Heston represents bait to the Jim Carreys of the world, and I think Charlton Heston, if we could communicate with him, he would be smiling right now. He wouldn't be hurt. He would be smiling because Charlton Heston knew the culture war was coming before any of us did, Alex.
No, he was there sounding the alarm, and he is, just like our forebears fight from the grave for liberty with their statements and the Second Amendment they laid down, Charlton Heston is, like an El Cid, strapped dead on the horse, out there terrifying the enemy.
Yep, and here's the beauty. Charlton Heston would be more than proud to cause much anguish and insanity in the soulless vacuum of Jim Carrey's brain, or his skull. Charlton Heston is like you and I, Alex, only he's better. And he is just giddy with joy that he has inspired Jim Carrey to become even dumber than dumb and to be just this toxic source of indecency and mean spirit and hate. Charlton Heston isn't even alive, and he caused Jim Carrey to expose his soullessness. So don't underestimate in the culture war, more important than the lie of Bowling for Columbine by Michael No Hygiene Moore and Nancy No Soul Pelosi and Diane I've got a gun but you don't get to have one Feinstein. I mean the list goes on of just hypocritical, brain-dead, subhuman punks. Or, not to mention, Alex, the Vice President of the United States recommending felonies live on TV. You got to be kidding me. Alex, again, if you and I were to sit down with all the greatest minds on earth, the most clever, educated, witty, brilliant minds on earth, we couldn't design an enemy that looks more ridiculous than Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, find Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Eric Holder, Jim Carrey, Michael Moore, ad nauseum. So yes, it is hurtful, and it does inspire righteous indignation, and we should be angry, but we should also take a deep breath and go, hey, Jim, do it again, because you're distancing yourself further every time you open your imbecilic mouth surrounded by your armed security details demanding that the rest of us don't get to have any security. So, Alex, I know it hurts and it's ugly, but you know what? I think in Nuremberg, 1938, we got there late, but when we finally got there, we made those subhuman Nazi brown shirt punks walk through Auschwitz, and look what they caused. Look what they did. And this Jim Carrey moment is a mirror that we can show somebody, hopefully soon, that these people enhance crime, they encourage crime, they facilitate and guarantee more innocent dead citizens.
Sure.
Because they're
well, that's it. They know, Ted Nugent joining us, they know crimes drop 49%, violent crime, FBI statistics since 1991. As the guns go up, the crime goes down. They know that. So it is a criminal instinct of hypocrisy to want to dominate us because they're collectivist that end up getting our banker bailout money. They are just lawless parasites. Michael Moore, all of them, they know exactly. Dianne Feinstein, she's got her own gun. She's got her own security detail. They have this I'll say it, criminal instinct to disarm us.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, do we need any more evidence than the #1 cop in the free world running guns to Mexican drug gangs? Are you kidding me? Again, we couldn't write a Planet of the Apes meets One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Alfred E. Newman that's dumber than this scenario.
And they get away with it. That's why I got so mad by the video, and we're going to break here, but I want to get your take on this, that they are so pathetic. That's why it made me so mad. It was nauseating how stupid they are and how ridiculous. But then they're still taking over. There's these idiots everywhere that think that's funny.
Well, #1, Alex, today our job, as always, get everybody within earshot. Join the NRA, increase your membership in the NRA, and here's the most important one. Give NRA memberships to everybody you know. There's certainly a birthday, a graduation, an anniversary, some type of celebration, or just somebody that you admire, or an anti-gunner that you debate. Get them a membership in the NRA. They will read The Armed Citizen in the magazine.
Stay there and make Ted Nugent President Pro Tem. Stay there. We'll be right back. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central, we're here live, also on XM 166 and over 150 AM and FM affiliates. I'm Alex Jones, your host. The websites are Infowars.com and InfoWarsNews.com, where we have Infowars Nightly News. TedNugent.com is an amazing website and has a lot of just really cutting-edge information on it when it comes to the fight for liberty. And if we can go back to that phone conversation this morning, Ted, again, Ted Nugent with us right now, to the points you were making, because you were so focused. It was really focused anger. And you were talking about the fact this is a war because, I mean, these collectivists, they don't want to just get rid of the Second Amendment. They want to expunge everything. I mean, they are literally taking over. And the problem is so many of the Republicans are part of this as well. I think everybody who loves liberty needs to get really aggressive. So I think it's a change in our guts. And you talked about just knowing we're right, Ted Nugent.
Well, again, you know, the term self-evident truth isn't shouted often enough from the mountaintops of our daily lives, Alex. So we salute you for doing that. And we salute everybody out there. And again, I constantly reference the curse of apathy, the self-inflicted suicide of disconnected sheep in America. But again, only the guilty need to feel guilty. Some guys go, well, I'm not a sheep, I'm involved. Well, then I'm not talking about you, pal. But we know sheep. We all have sheep in our lives. We know someone who shrugs their shoulder and goes, yeah, I believe in the Second Amendment, but there's no reason we should own a machine gun. You know what I mean? We need to take these people and fix them and get rid of the self-inflicted curse of apathy, because the term self-evident truth, what you rail about about, the culture war in our face, the fact that a Chicago gangster, a manipulating acorn, communist hanging out with deceitful scam artist Barack Obama has weaseled his way into the White House, if that's not an indicator that too many Americans are sound asleep, then I really don't know what else I can tell you. But we know it to be true, but the answers are not mysterious. The remedy is not mysterious. This isn't rocket scientists. An experiment in self-government is in our guts. It's in our soul. It's the most powerful instinct to pursue your individual happiness, to know that God gave us each an individual right, as outlined succinctly and eloquently, and for the first time in the history of mankind, in the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. My God, we've got to communicate with this to our elected officials. And again, I'm going to repeat this till I blow up. NRA memberships, there aren't enough of them. The most powerful sucker punch into the solar plexus of the Nancy Pelosi and Feinsteins and Michael Moore and Jim Carreys of the world is numbers. NRA memberships.
Exactly. Just to back you up, Bloomberg has now raised $14 million off the dead kids at Sandy Hook, the victim disarmament zone that he helped nationwide set up. So if anybody's guilty, it's him. He's trying to collectively make us guilty. He raised $14 million to run around and pay off police chiefs and local governments to come out against guns. And we have to take it personal when these people do this. We have to give money to the NRA and Gun Owners of America and your state gun groups. Folks, you've got to give time, energy. You've got to support alternative media platforms, libertarian, true conservative. What about this? What about how Homeland Security is now buying billions of bullets, armored vehicles, and saying the #1 terror threat is gun owners, conservatives, libertarians? I mean, talk about Twilight Zone, outer limits. We now know that they are taking over Homeland Security as another branch of the military. It's become the 5th branch, trying to point it at us.
The curse of apathy and the political correct scourge of denial. You mean what you just mentioned, Alex? I'm just a guitar player. I never went to college. I was too busy learning stuff. You know what I mean?
Me too.
I'm a pragmatist. I'm a utilitarian. I cut my own lawn. I change my own oil. I gut my own deer. I butcher my own carcasses. I breed my own wife, and I play my own music. I'm just an independent. I'm a throwback to rugged individualism. And again, I've been clean and sober for 64 years. And if you look at my family, if you look at my incredible wife, if people want to have the time of their life, I don't know what you do. Google Ted Nugent Zumba or my band, my crew, my kids, my brothers, my sister, my friends, my production, everybody around me.
You are electrically alive, just breathing in life, and are successful and dynamic because you're tied in to your God-given instincts. And these collectivists are a bunch of sacks and piles of stinking dog crap. I'm sorry, that's what they are, and they want to make us like them.
They're subhumans. I mean, literally, they're as evil gets. So we can sit here and go, so you're not aware, Mr. Neighbor, Mr. Coworker, someone at church and school, so you're not aware that the Homeland Security, the TSA, the DHS...
Stay there, Ted Nugent, straight ahead, tednugent.com. He's on fire.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Come on, baby. It is hard to fade down that music, and the man that created it, Ted Nugent, is with us. And the more I get to know Ted Nugent, obviously I've known him for years. He's been coming on the show for probably 15 years. But the more I really get to know him, he is such a patriot. And you notice as things get more hardcore, he gets more hardcore. And I wanted to talk to him about how to beat these people. We're going to get to the fun of guns after we cover the more serious topics in a moment. But before we do that, remember, this broadcast is listener supported. We're building the news organization, the nightly news, the films, the monthly magazine. Everything we're doing isn't funded by banker bailouts and taxpayer money like MSNBC and CNN. It is funded by your support. And so I go out and find the best products that I can find, get the best deal, buy them in bulk, and sell them at the lowest price, like the stainless steel ProPure water filtration system that blows away the competition. Very important to have clean water, so it's a win-win-win. You can get that at InfoWarsStore.com. That's InfoWars, one word, store.com. You can also find all the pro-Second Amendment, come and take it with a M16 or AK-47 with the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed inside the gun. Best-selling shirt out there. People are getting them all over the country. Camouflage, Infowars.com. Ball caps, the films, the materials. It is a culture war, so wear your uniform, folks, and meet like-minded people. We have the Obama Joker Tyrant shirt, a limited edition. We have the new 1776 Spirit of Liberty shirt that just came out with Paul Revere riding on it with M16s crossed on the front and the back. Just amazing at InfoWarsStore.com. And the more you fuel us in midair refueling, the more you fund us, the more we're going to get the word out. In fact, I'm about to put 1 million bumper stickers in the new, not this month, but the next month magazine. 1 million of them. 6 bumper stickers per magazine going out. One of them's a Second Amendment sticker. The others are InfoWars. It's time to get aggressive, 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 aggressive. And support TedNugent.com. The globalist, the New World Order types love to act like we're all alone, that we don't have any power, that we're weirdos. At the end of the Charlton Heston demonization video where they say he killed the kids, God hates him, he's going to hell, he's a psycho, he's scum, he blows his foot off. At the end of the attempted defaming that falls flat on its face by the little scrofulous creature Jim Carrey and his masters, at the end of the whole video, you realize that these people are just pathetic and that all they've done is give us another tool to show what scum they are. But we are in a culture war. And at the end of the video, they all laugh at Charlton Heston and laugh at gun owners, and you're supposed to feel like you're alone at the end. You're supposed to feel like, as there's blood all over Charlton Heston, you're supposed to feel like you're a moron and because this scum laughed at you. That's all peer pressure manipulation. These people are the scum, and they really are the degenerate scum. And it's time to really get in their face and stop being nice about it. I mean, Ted, I think it's time to go all the way. It's time to triple and re-quadruple down. They tell us be nice. That's the way to win arguments. This is our enemy telling us this. What do you say about really getting aggressive, then get into DHS, get into still touring, getting bigger every day, the wake-up that's happening. I want to get into Uncle Ted's advice in this war. Ted Nugent, you've got the floor.
Well, Alex, when you recommend getting more aggressive, surely you've seen the YouTube video of me holding up a bunch of drum-fed AR-15s on stage and telling Nancy Pelosi, then Senator Barack Obama, Barbara Boxer,
yes.
Dianne Feinstein, et al. To suck on my machine guns. Should I get more aggressive than that?
No, I think, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling the public.
I know what you mean, and we love you madly, but I do believe that I may be the only guy on the planet who's got a couple notches up the aggressive chart from Alex.
Oh, no. Let me be clear. I agree with you. I'm telling the audience I think it's time to get aggressive. What do you say then?
I just thought I'd make sure if people listening right now to us, Alex, haven't Googled my name lately, get yourself some popcorn and a couple of big gulps.
You're right.
And Google Ted Nugent and watch me drive the liberals berserk.
That's what I do sometimes on Saturday nights. I literally do. Go watch your latest YouTube.
I mean, it's just his. And by the way, Alex, my wife will tell you, I never in my life have woke up in the morning, rubbed my hands together, got a wild-eyed look in my face and gone, what can I do to drive liberals batty? I've never given it a thought. Swear to God, my instincts are to stand up for truth, logic, the logic and pragmatism that brings independent quality of life, and I celebrate and promote those things. I started promoting, never defending. I have never defended the Second Amendment or backstraps. I've never defended anything. I promote and celebrate all good things, self-evident truth, logic. logic, goodwill, decency, and the American way. And I found out as early as 1965, 1966, the beatniks were morphing into the hippies, and they hated me. And I sat back for a minute and I go, you hate me because I believe in self-defense and I eat venison? Are you kidding me? But here's the bottom line. I would love to get Pelosi and Boxer and Feinstein and Michael Moore and Jim Carrey and Bill Maher and Pierce Morgan. I'd like them to get on film and admit, how much dope have you smoking? How many and I'm not alleging they have, allegedly they talk and conduct themselves like cesspools of mind-altering drugs. And I bet you, if you got everybody that hates Ted Nugent and Alex Jones and the NRA and freedom in America, if you got all of them to take some truth serum and look in the camera and admit how much mind-altering substance abuse they've subjected themselves to for how long, no one would be surprised that they are Timothy Leary run amok. And that's what you can expect from those kind of people. When you have intentionally poisoned and destroyed your brain, you can come out with a video like Jim Carrey has.
Well, let me throw this at you briefly and then get into all those other topics we talked about during the break. Again, Ted Nugent's our guest. If you just tuned in, and he's on fire today after they've tried to desecrate and demonize Charlton Heston. And I believe it will blow up in their face. Buzz Bissinger was on the Piers Morgan show a few days after I was on there, and he said, you know, we ought to get him in here and shoot him. And then the ambassador's daughter, Huntsman's daughter, and Morgan agree and say, yeah, I'll put on a police uniform, and they fetishize that, real creepy, and we'll shoot Alex Jones. And then Buzz Bissinger has now come out and admitted he likes to buy $600,000 a year of women's clothing. And I mean, my whole issue is, what is the point of this? I mean, you know, this guy is, if I said kill him, which I'm not, I mean, that's like going out in the yard and stepping on dog crap. If I said kill him, I would be arrested. He said kill me, and then it's a joke. These people fetishize killing us, and they're constantly talking about killing constitutionalists. There's so many examples of this with people like Alec Baldwin, you name it. I mean,
well, that's why our instincts, you know, and again, if we go back to what made America great, we didn't meet the British punks at Concord Bridge to make them tea and have a discussion. We blew their brains out. That's how you stop tyrants. That's how you stop King George. That's how you stop despots and emperors and punks that want to control your life and oppress freedom. You meet them at Concord Bridge and you blow their damn brains out. That's what we did in 1776 because we'd about had enough. And so when you made that statement on Pierce Morgan, I've seen the transcript. All I can say is, duh, hello, self-evident truth, common sense, and history is not up for discussion. It is what it is. But now in the culture war, it is important that we let them talk. We let them threaten our lives. We let them call the greatest, maybe one of the greatest heroes of the civil rights movement next to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others that sacrificed so much, the Freedom Marchers and so many. Charlton Heston is the most revered and earned reputation icon and hero, Alex. So let Jim Carrey show his evil side. Let Jim Carrey lie. His entire video is a lie. And these punks like Bill Maher cannot separate their humor license, their creative humor license, from the respect due to a great man like Charlton Heston. So it's good that they take the bait, but we, the people, who still understand the foundation of the greatest quality of life in the history of the world is outlined in the Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule, those of us that are in the asset column of America, we still are running short of our responsibilities to educate, inspire, and prod everyone in our lives. There's an enormous army that could have won this last election, Alex, if all of us that knew the truth and knew the evidence, if we shared it and we asked and we really pushed harder to get our friends to join the NRA, to communicate with their elected officials, and to speak up. There's still too many sheep in America, and the sheepdogs need to educate them so we can reduce the wolves.
You're right. And in closing on the point of Charlton Heston, before we get into solutions, so many people that support liberty are just quiet and, you know, they're sitting back and they're waiting if the system pushes too much. And as Andrew Jackson said, don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes. You know, I understand the point of let the enemy run amok. That's what's discrediting. Polls show that people are more pro-gun now than they were just 6 months ago.
Sure.
There's a new CBS poll out. They're very upset that their whole hoax has failed. But at the same time, they've still got control of the government and the bureaucracy because they crave the control. How do we really get on the offense as individuals? I say go to city councils. I say get in the face of police chiefs that are anti-gun. I mean, my own police chief in Austin says, you know, turn in your semi-autos, ban high-capacity clips, ban gun shows. You can't buy your son a gun. No private sales. You don't need a semi-auto to protect yourself. Well, then how about the Austin police, who I know most of them are good people? How about you turn in your semi-autos? What a load of bull. What do you say to that?
Well, he's obviously the illegitimate stepchild of Ann Richards. But that still exists. I mean, Sheila Jackson Lee is alive and well in Texas, so we've got anti-freedom. We got hypocrites, because I guarantee you that chief of police has a semi-auto to protect his family, Alex. Are you kidding me? Well, again, it's communication. I've been doing this forever. I think I was one of the first guys to find myself face-to-face with the whites of their eyes in the culture war back in the 1960s, because the tip of that spear has always been gun rights and hunting rights. Private property, hunting, conservation. We, the people, own those resources, not the king. So I got to tell you, I'm going to put out a salute right now to Ranger Tess and Go-Kart and Steve and so many guys at my talkback. Blood Trails, I have thousands and thousands of people, not just from the United States, but Canada, Japan, Australia, Germany, England, Belgium, Sweden. I mean, people from all around the world who dream of, who crave and have the instinct to be independent and free. They come to tednugent.com talkback, and a salute to them, because for every talkbacker that you and I communicate with, they need to communicate with another dozen, and those dozen need to communicate with another dozen. That's how we win this culture war. We have not turned up the heat. We have not got aggressive enough, but we always have to be on the civil, polite, goodwill, and decency side, and let the Jim Carreys spew their venom. Let them expose themselves for the haters and the freedom haters and the America haters that they are. And if we remain civil with the stats and statistics and evidence at our fingertips and at the tip of our tongue, Alex, we will win. That's why I salute you. That's what you're doing. And everybody listening, they don't need to call Alex and say thank you. They need to call everybody else in their lives and get them going.
You're right. Let's get into solutions. Talk about, because you got cut off by the break, the DHS situation. It's admitting there's an armed buildup, that they're trying to create this new domestic security force pointed at the American people. But then I want to hear about the Delta Force and SEALs and people you know. You were telling me off air how incredibly awake they're getting. And then let's talk about solutions. The gun culture they're so afraid of that's spreading, going and literally getting somebody into guns, that one person after another. That's how we're truly going to win.
And you see it happening all across this country. Yeah, it's like your chief of police in Austin, isn't that a heartbreaker? That a Texas law enforcement officer sides with Nancy Pelosi? I mean, are you kidding me? So what did he do? Pee at the wall of the Alamo like Ozzy Osbourne? I'm just heartbroken, because I know a bunch of those Austin cops. But here's the final overview. I'm a lucky guy. I get to hang and barbecue and hunt and train with the greatest commando hero warriors that ever lived. I mean, I am so humble, I'm surprised I can even grovel at their feet. Delta Force, Navy SEALs, the Special Ops, the Army Rangers, SWAT commanders, and heroes of law enforcement and military all across this land. I held the hand of Sergeant Todd Balding, who happened to be from Austin, Alex. I held his hand over in Iraq. He took an RPG center mass. I'll try not to cry on your radio show here. He's a young black man, 22 years old. RPG center mass, Alex. It was still in his guts. I stood there in his blood, and I held his hand as he died.
Wow.
I don't need any more inspiration. He died because he swore an oath, Mr. Chief of Police, to enforce, abide by, and fight for, and die for the U.S. Constitution. Do you think I need some punk, some dependent little whiny, soulless, doped-up crybaby like Jim Carrey to give me direction on constitutional and Bill of Rights guaranteed God-given individual rights? Are you kidding me? So everybody close their eyes right now, unless you're driving, and think of Todd Balding as he bled to death and took this giant, ugly RPG rocket right in the guts. And he bled to death fighting for freedom and going after terrorists who attack Americans because of their voodoo, a la puke Muslim insanity. And if that's not worth inspiring you to join the NRA, to communicate with your elected officials and do your duty as we the people, then I don't think there's any hope for you, and you probably ought to just move to Canada.
Well, it really is disgusting that these people parade around. In fact, since you mentioned that, and I want to talk about the tour and you know, the culture war, having fun, that is the way to defeat them. Obama says post-Assad Syria of Islamist extremism is nightmare scenario. Obama in Libya, in Syria, I'm not saying Gaddafi or the guy in Syria are good guys, but they weren't offensively doing anything. They're putting real al-Qaeda out of Saudi Arabia over there and are now talking about our troops having to go in after Assad falls to fight them. I mean, what is going on with Obama openly funding real al-Qaeda? I don't know if you've seen the videos of them chopping Christians' heads off in Syria. I can't even believe this. It's like some outer limits or some other dimension that it's in the news. Obama warns Syria could become enclave from extremism. Why is our government offensively with NATO now saying NATO is over our military? Our military spoken out against this, by the way. I'm sure you know that.
Sure.
What is going on with that? What are do you hear anything from your military sources about this craziness, the 10,000 missiles from Benghazi, why did they kill the ambassador? They stood down. My inside sources that are in Army intelligence say Obama wanted him dead. It was the Benghazi security force that was al-Qaeda that came over and killed him. I mean, it's just, what is going on with Obama?
I mean, boy, where do you begin to answer that question? Here's a guy that was born to communists, raised by communists, educated by communists, preached to by America-hating communists. I mean, who hasn't studied where this acorn Chicago gangster scammer came from? But that's what I was talking about, the Department of Homeland Security, which, by the way, Alex, you're on the phone with the Czar of Homeland Security. My homeland is secure. Know that. But the domestic agencies, from the IRS to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife to the Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Forest Service, and DEA, and ATF, and FBI, and remember, a lot of those people, I still think the majority of those agents are great patriots and great men and women. And I hang the future of America on the nail of truth that they have expressed to me that they will not enforce illegal anti-constitutional orders from above. That is the great hope. But that they're purchasing all this firepower and armored vehicles, who doesn't know this? Who doesn't identify this as an illegal act by the government who is so corrupt, so out of control? Thank God for Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and Ron Paul and Governor Perry and Greg Abbott and Steve Stockman and Bill Flores and so many patriots that are standing up but that's the new GOP that we the people have prodded with the We the People pulse. When you extract the We the People pulse from politics, you will get We the Sheeple. I give you Barack Hussein Obama.
I think they're gearing up. What do you think is going on with the bullets? Are they trying to just dry up the bullet supply?
Well, they certainly have succeeded at that. I started my own Ted Nugent line of ammo here last year, and it's like everything else you find on the shelf nowadays, if you can find any. It's state-of-the-art stuff. But we literally can't get my pallets of ammo off the truck. People are buying them in the parking lot before they even get to the shelves, which, you know, on a consumer side, I'm gleeful of, and the ammo industry, the firearms industry, is literally having a consumer orgy like never before, which is a very powerful statement from we the people, that we smell what you're doing, Obama, and we're gearing up too. And a little "don't tread on me" reminder seems to be appropriate right now. So there's no question what's going on. The deceit, the scam, the criminality, the Benghazi, the Fast and Furious, sending F-16s to Egypt. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This would make a stupid Burns movie that Alfred Hitchcock wouldn't produce because it's too stupid, but it's actually happening.
But that's what frustrates me. That's why I got so sick. I'm going to be honest. I came in last night from work, you know, being an evil American. I got home by about 9. And she said, "What is wrong with you?" And my kids all came up and they were around me, and 10 down to age 5. And "What's wrong, Dad?" And I just said, "I don't want to talk about it." And then I couldn't. I got so it was past anger. It was the shame that we allow this scum to walk all over us, and that this country has allowed pathetic filth and authoritarians to even call themselves liberal. Thomas Jefferson was a liberal. They're not liberals. And it just made me reaffirm that I am going to redouble 110%, and I'm coming after these people. Now, what do you think about ways to go after, legally and lawfully, to go after Kerry and all these globalists? How do we really get aggressive? Boycott? What do we do?
Well, you know, I have such a, if you can bear with me, I literally have the answer, the perfect answer. Ted Cruz didn't sprout out of the ground and just show up. I communicated with him. Texans who cared communicated with him. We enthused him. We supported him. Now he represents us. And did you see the beauty, the perfection of we the people when Ted Cruz...
That's right. We backed him. We backed him. So we take over. And that's what even the Republican establishment is scared of, real constitutional libertarian campaign for liberty people.
Absolutely, but that's why Ted Cruz so riled up Feinstein, because he represented the common sense pulse of logic, freedom-loving Americans, and every state needs to do that. And there's a lot of states that do that. Arizona, South Dakota, certainly Texas is the master of it. Wisconsin has done great things with what they've done with Scott Walker up there, and in his own way, even though Christie's only a solid 2 on the scale of 10, he sure beats the -8 of the past governors of that state in New Jersey. But we the people, where we don't demand representation based on the Constitution and our common sense, where we don't demand it, we will get the Pelosi's and the Feinsteins and the Bloombergs and the Cuomos and the subhuman freedom haters that are infesting this corrupt government right now. So the answer is activism, activism, activism. Always polite,
exactly,
always firm, but never, ever give up.
Well, here's an example. DrudgeReport.com in the last year has been taking our stories and putting them out about the billion bullets, the 1.6, the 2 billion, the armored vehicles, and they just said it didn't exist. Politico and other White House fronts. Now there's a 15-member congressional investigation starting. Congressman, it's my duty to get to the bottom of massive DHS ammo buy. It's now on Fox, CNN, everywhere. They're being caught lying. And there's an example of just taking action. And the people talking to their Congress folks, we're now forcing this issue out. And we can do that everywhere when we just move against them. Tell us about the tour in the last minute and a half, and how we win by having fun.
You know, having fun is all things shoot 'em up. I mean, every day in America, American families celebrate the shooting sports and the Second Amendment by spending millions of dollars and shooting millions of rounds of ammo. I mean, that's actually accurate, Alex. American families go out every week and shoot millions of rounds of ammo in training, competition, practice.
And that builds the liberty infrastructure. Listen, you've already done 55 minutes with us. This is a 1-minute break. Can you come back and finish that thought for 2 minutes, Ted?
My pleasure.
All right,
pleasure.
Ted Nugent, a little bit of overdrive here, and then we'll continue into the third hour with news, your phone calls, and a ton I haven't gotten to, but he is on fire. TedNugent.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. We're streaming video at InfoWarsNews.com of the show right now.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups.
You want answers?
You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
It was 20 years ago, sitting there in local community college, every class, whether it was trigonometry or psychology, hearing how America was bad, guns were bad, George Washington was a piece of garbage, private property was evil, that I said, I got to get in the media. I wasn't even intending that. Went and did an access show. Then 6 months into it, got a local radio show, then got a weeknight show, then got syndicated. And I've grown slowly, but now we do reach 15 million people a week one way or another. And it's growing. It's quite frankly scary sometimes. It's an incredible responsibility. But the deeper you get into this fight, it is not work, folks. My problem is I am completely obsessed with it because I'm being assaulted. I'm angry. And I have an instinct to, it's like a fight. If some guy starts a fight, starts kicking your butt, when you start kicking their butt back, you know, you want to go ahead and put them all the way down so they don't get back up. I want to really get on the offense and really go after them. And if everybody would join state and national gun groups like the NRA and others, if everybody would go to their state houses and get aggressive, we would rout these people. In fact, Ted Nugent, in closing, you're talking about winning and also having fun. Don't you think that they've jumped the shark here, and that if we double down, we can actually have an offense that could really, once and for all, defeat the collectivist?
Yeah, it almost took, in fact, not almost, it has taken this extreme attack on our individual freedoms by Barack Obama and all his gangster punk friends out there to wake a lot of Americans up buying more firearms, more ammo than ever in recorded history of planet Earth. That's a great sign. But don't underestimate the importance. I use the term cleanse my soul, Alex. I get up in the tree with my bow and arrow. I train with these heroes of the military that have sacrificed their arms and their legs, and we shoot machine guns from helicopters and kill hogs, and we barbecue and we fish. So never underestimate the importance of getting away from the battle. As long as you've done the battle to the best of your ability and signed up new members of the NRA, Gun Owners of America, you've communicated with your elected officials, and you've kind of educated/chastised your friends who are not engaged. But then get out with your family, invite some new shooters, take that 22 with ears and eyes and hearing protection and eye protection, and introduce some new shooters. I have a Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity for 25 years, and we have graduated over 15,000 young Americans into the shooting sports for safe, proper legal gun handling. That drives the enemy berserk. That's how you cleanse your soul while you're winning the war, having the time of your life.
No, you're right. We all need to fight hard and then play hard. The Black Power Tour. In closing, tell us about that. That really upset the system. That your inspiration was black rock and rollers. It also upsets them that Charlton Heston was such a humanitarian in the civil rights movement.
Well, all the good music in the world comes from black artists, from the Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters into Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry and Little Richard and James Brown and Wilson Pickett and Sam and Dave and the Motown Funk Brothers. So my incredible band, the greatest rock and roll rhythm and blues band in the world, Greg Smith and Mick Brown and Derek St. Holmes, we're hitting the road this year, starting next month with REO and Styx. Then we're going out all summer before the hunting season starts. But we're going to play a tribute, as we always have for 50 years, to those black American heroes that have inspired every piece of killer music in the history of mankind. And it's called Black Power because the black artists showed us the way musically and emotionally, and that spirit and the uppity ferocity. So we should take that and use it. You can use Stranglehold as the ultimate soundtrack for freedom and defiance. And I want to thank everybody for making our Spirit of the Wild show the #1 show on Outdoor Channel, and our Wanted Dead or Alive show the #1 show on Sportsman Channel. But I'm keeping at it. I'm turning up the heat, and we need to get more aggressive and need to win this culture war ASAP.
Well, look at how all these hit shows on Discovery, they're trying to cancel them, even though they're hits, because they know we're winning the culture war. I see this whole attack as desperate flailing.
It is desperate flailing, but that's going to backfire on. Jim Carrey's going to backfire. Michael Moore's backfiring. I believe, Nancy, you don't need to read this. You need to sign it. Pelosi is a backfire in itself. So we need to take advantage of the indecency, the hate from the other side. We need to express it. Always express it calmly. If you're going to call your senator, have a piece of paper with the main 2 points you want to make.
Absolutely. TedNugent.com. Ted, thank you for giving such an eloquent defense of Charlton Heston. Not that he needed it, you're right, but God bless you, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Folks, Ted Nugent.
Godspeed, Alex.
You too. Goodbye. We'll be right back. Stay with us. That was Ted Nugent.
We've got it.
This transmission is coming to you.
Wage waging war on corruption.
All right, you are go.
It's Alex Jones, coming to you live from the front lines of the InfoWar.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kurt Nimmo has an article out at Infowars.com. Senators Paul and Cruz pledged to defeat anti-Second Amendment bill in the Senate. There's another report out by Salon. I was actually surprised by it. It was halfway fair. Billy Corrigan's strange infatuation with a conspiracy theorist. The Smashing Pumpkins frontman reveals his admiration for Alex Jones. The reason I mention that is it's a very good video and is reaching a lot of people that you would call liberal with the message of liberty. Because what we're trying to do is get past all the labels. And obviously with somebody like Ted Nugent on, you're going to get the labels against the Democrats because he's chosen the Republican team because he believes it's better, to work from within inside that and take it over. And that's fine. I say take over the Democrats, the Republicans, everybody. A true liberal stance is pro-gun, pro-private property, pro-family, pro-live your own life. And even though that's kind of a demonization headline, a little snot-nosed headline, the actual article is very, very fair. And I've never seen that out of Salon in the demonization pieces. So, again, that's another positive sign right there. Here's another one. You see Karl Rove coming out and demonizing Campaign for Liberty, demonizing Rand Paul, demonizing Ted Cruz, saying, they're not going to get anybody elected. They're going to ruin the Republican Party. And that's because they're scared to death of it. They've tried to have the Bilderbergs and Peter Thiel and others go in and take over the Ron Paul system. And that certainly was successful with Jesse Benton at some levels, because it's Washington, D.C., it's a barrel of sharks. But if you look at Rand Paul and others, they are the prototype of county commissioners, city council people, sheriffs, state reps, governors, and other Congress people like Walter Jones, who is a patriot and supporting the entire Bill of Rights and is against all these wars. You see, with Rand Paul, with Walter Jones, who is a convert to this in the last decade and apologizes for Iraq and says he was lied to and repents. I mean, he's really repentant. We're infiltrating them. They're not infiltrating us. And that's why they're coming after Rand Paul. That's why they're coming after Ted Cruz. And again, I don't know Ted Cruz that well. We've interviewed him before. I don't completely trust him until I've known him a long time. But the fruits on the tree, shutting down Dianne Feinstein, not doing sophomoric half arguments, but really bombshell, crushing her, we can take over. There is this self-fulfilling prophecy that we can't win and that nobody can be good. I mean, I see this all the time where people can't believe that I'm actually real. I didn't go do an access show for many years and get my own radio show and build it and start my website and, even update it sometimes myself when I had almost no, internet savvy on systems like Coffee Cup and then Dreamweaver. I didn't make films untrained with 3/4-inch tape and VHS. I didn't sit there and cut my own audio tracks with a razor blade. I didn't sneak into Bohemian Grove. I didn't sneak into military operations. I didn't go out and confront people. I didn't go out and build a media system. I didn't do any of that. No, there's an army of CIA people out there in my control room. They're running it all. That's right. You see, because these are people out there who know the government's corrupt now. They've gotten savvy enough to know there's serious problems in our society. But they've been brought up by the television in their diapers, 10 hours a day when they were little kids, babies, and brought up by the culture, and they don't know how to do anything. They don't even know how to work at McDonald's. They know how to go get, their parents go pay their tuition to go to a university to get a degree that won't exist by the time they get out. We're going towards singularity, the whole deal. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, this whole age is dying. This whole system is going down. This whole system is falling apart by design into the new technocracy. It would already be major upheaval, but the globalists are steering it to be as consolidate and destroy society. And it is just madness. The globalists aren't going to get out of this, in my deep research, if they continue down this path. It is madness. It is nightmare. It is joining with Sauron. It is joining with El Diablo. And people are such spectators, they cannot imagine. And that's why they don't want fighting. That's why even wrestling or then running or dodgeball or then shaking hands is being made, quote, illegal. They criminally charge you, even though there's not really a law. They trick you to then plea bargain to a lesser charge and sign an agreement so it never goes to trial, and then you get into the system. That's why in the last 15 years, all over the world, they're phasing it out. Because when you're growing up as a kid and get beat up by bullies, it creates confidence when you finally learn to fight back. When you paint things and go sell them and become successful, it creates confidence. When you go and work as a painter of houses and then go start your own business 5 years later and suddenly buy a new car and have a nice house, it builds confidence. Soon you hire 10 more painters and you put up billboards and now you got the biggest painting company in the town. You know, when you go out and mow yards, when you do go and become an engineer or a chemist and then go and develop things, or when you invent something and it becomes, you know, successful, then you invent hundreds of things. They don't want you ever to have success, and it just blows me away. I mean, the best thing that ever happened to me, thank God I survived. There was a few times I couldn't believe how rough Dallas was. I couldn't believe the total culture of maleness compared to Austin. Now, in a way, it's kind of like after you've been in a big fight, you want to go lay down. That's what Austin's like, where there's hardly any fighting, or, you know, it's just totally different culture. But in a way, I realize that's because it is controlled. But it's a side issue. The best thing ever happened to me was people pulling knives on me, getting stabbed, getting in. I think about how many fights I've been in. All of it. Even though it was rough at the time, it gave me confidence and experience and made me to where I was confident in other things, and probably too confident sometimes. And I'm not here saying I'm Mr. Tough Guy. Because let me tell you, as tough as you think there are, you know, in any, you know, movie theater, there's probably 10 guys can kick your butt. There's a lot of tough guys out there. But then I sit there and I see the morally weak and pathetic and emasculated who get into it, who have never done anything on their own and will go work for a corporation, pushing paper around, waiting for the age of humans to end. The globalists have decided the age of humans is over. They believe their evolution is to merge with the machines and become gods. Now, whether that's going to really happen or not, the media always says I'm the one that believes that. No, the establishment believes it, and I show in films and books and articles where they say it constantly. They're out of control, and I don't want them controlling my destiny. I don't want them running my life and my children's life, because I don't want my great-great-grandchildren to not exist. I want passion and love and the challenge of life and the great adventure to continue. I fear humanity's death. I fear the stream to my ancestors from the past to the present to the future with my progeny and your progeny that will inherit the earth together being destroyed, being damaged, being twisted, being abused. I don't like thinking about innocent people being abused or pulled down. I don't like what's happening. And I want to defeat the tyranny. And you have to first believe you can defeat it. And the churches have all taught it's the end of the world, and there's no reason to get involved. Just leave the world alone. And that's why evil's taking over. Whether it is the end of the world or not coming, you have a job. You're just going to let people be caught up by the world system? You're just going to let people be overrun by this? Most of you don't fight this tyranny because you're cowards. And it is so pathetic. It is so absolutely, completely pathetic at so many levels. You're allowing the evil to take over. That's the danger. You should be afraid of acting like a sheep bringing in the wolves. You're wolf bait. But instead, you think it will protect you groveling under the dark wings of the New World Order. It will not do that. And you have a responsibility to speak out against this. But, you know, you're afraid of what your neighbors think, much less the government coming after you. I mean, I can't believe how people care what others think, or someone laughing at someone who you don't know. I mean, if I know somebody and they're trying to do something to me, I take it personal and then don't like it. But if I don't know somebody, you're laughing at me? I mean, if I slip and fall at a grocery store or something, everybody's pointing and laughing, I'm not embarrassed. I get up and make a joke. And I just don't understand the unconfident patheticness that the spirit of patheticness that has absolutely taken everything over. And it's time to rediscover your humanity. We're going to take phone calls for the balance of the hour. We're going to do a bunch of world news, financial news, Middle East news, politics, health, science, you name it. 800-259-9231. First-time callers, 800-259-9231. You can call in about anything you want. Okay? Anything you want. But what do you think about just absolutely how they hate Charlton Heston because they knew he had a big heart and was a real guy? These people hate real people. They hate love. They hate real hearts. They revel in being twisted and weak in like clouds of gangs of weirdos. And they try to be weird. They're not even really weird. They're not really weird. They're fake weird. They're a bunch of unformed people that are just so childlike and so weak. It freaks me out. Globalists see you acting weak and love it. It like encourages them. It freaks me out. Jim Carrey is so pathetic and evil. It makes me want to throw up. It hurts me. He's so weak, prancing around and so pathetic. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv are the websites. We'll be right back after this quick break with your phone calls. 800-259-9231. Stay with us.
Some folks are born made to wait to fly. Ooh, the red, white, and blue. The red, white, and blue. And when the band plays, hell to the chief, Lord knows.
They point a cannon at you.
Tell them that they name me.
The predator class wants us disarmed. We must deliver liberty into the people's hands at the grassroots. Everyone that wants to destroy our private property, our Second Amendment, our families, are our eternal mind crime enemies. They are people that want to control our minds, and they are enemies. Chris in Connecticut, you're on the air. Go ahead. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Alex Jones and crew. Hey, I just wanted to address a specific remark that Mr. Nugent had made. And that remark was about that unfortunate poor Marine who died with a rocket in his chest and how he died over there in Iraq defending the Constitution and our freedoms. And, you know, that did make me want to vomit, and I'm sure to most people listening and yourself, you realize that that's just simply not true, that the Constitution calls for...
Sure, his whole point is that they swear an oath to it, and that guy died. And so when you're over there, you end up hating the people that you're fighting against. And so I brought up, why is our government funding the radical Muslims to bring everybody down? It's a sophisticated thing to understand, but they're starting to get it. You see, that's what I'm doing by exposing that the globalists run Al-Qaeda, is that will bring down the whole fake war on terror. And so that's why... Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Your phone's a little breaking up. Go ahead.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, thank you for trying to bring that to his attention right away, because there are people who, as I said, probably collectively had their gag reflex act up. So I just want to say...
no, I hear you. Are you on a speakerphone? Are you on a speakerphone?
Yeah, I'm working. I got my tools in hand, you know, so I'll let you go, but thank you for...
all right. Yeah, listen. We... callers, and this is what we do when we take calls. We don't screen your calls, but we want to make sure your phone sounds good. We want people off their speaker phones, because I can barely understand you, and I really want people to hear you. That's why I gave the number out. So everybody get off their speaker phones. Let's talk to Ted in Florida. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Good, sir. Welcome.
Hey, Alex, couple things. The Patrick Henry speech is just so apropos to what's going on today. They're gathering armies against us. They want to confiscate our guns.
The war has already begun. Why stand we here idle?
Absolutely. There's no time for ceremony. There's so much going on. These guys are criminals. They're afraid because we're exposing them. They're trying to do everything they can to save their hide. I believe a false flag is imminent to distract everybody from how much we're exposing them. And Billy Corgan had a great idea on bringing other disciplines in here. You know, Satan is the narcissist, and our society, and particularly Jim Carrey and all these others like him, they're narcissists. And there's a wonderful woman, Melanie Tonia Evans, that has a wonderful piece of work on narcissism, and then a couple other things on solutions. Is I think we should, because everybody's tight on money, we should make a 10 million man march, and everybody gather and go to their state houses, so they don't always have to spend a lot of money and go to Washington, but their state houses. And then one last thing, these huge armored vehicles, they have a serious weakness, that their windows, if everybody has paintball guns and wrist rockets to shoot paint, that makes them like a turtle you've tipped over.
Where'd you do that research?
I just looked at them and looked for their weaknesses, and they don't have a lot of weaknesses with small arms fire, but their windows, if they can't see, they can't drive. And paintball guns are inexpensive. Balloons and wrist rockets and paint, oil-based paint, is inexpensive.
Sure, well, and even if there's cameras on them, you can take those out. We need to take them out politically and expose this arms buildup against us, and then it's checkmate. You understand the propaganda value? People think propaganda is a bad word. There's white propaganda, gray propaganda, and black propaganda. Black is a lie, white is obviously the truth. We have all the white propaganda we could ever use. This arms buildup is the biggest piece of white propaganda we could ever have. I suggest we use it, and we have been using it. I mean, this is a war, ladies and gentlemen, and it takes strategy, and it also just takes brute force and mass, and I'm going to launch a 1 million bumper sticker operation. I'm figuring out if I have the money. It looks like it'll cost something like $100,000, and then put them in the magazines. People can buy them at cost in bulk. I'm going to have to charge I say at cost, I have to charge a little bit more because of the cost. 1 million bumper stickers up around the country. I mean, that's just an example of devastating the enemy. To create that solidarity, that awareness.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
I was trained in firearms. I carried a concealed weapon. I made the determination that if somebody was going to try to take me out, I was going to take them with me.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
All right, let's continue with your phone calls after that bombshell interview with Ted Nugent in defense of the Second Amendment. Because if they get the guns, everything else implodes. They want to take your bank accounts. I've told you that for over a decade. They've done the same thing in country after country after country after country after country. And only realizing that both political parties and all three major political parties in England and the same thing in parliaments of Europe, they get in there and they control all the parties and have almost no difference between them, as Carol Quigley wrote in the book Tragedy and Hope. So we can either create new parties, or we can take over the states, or we can take over the Republican and Democratic parties. And like Billy Corgan talked about, there has got to be some way to bridge the gap and get people that are part of the power structure to realize, who aren't totally evil, that we're going downhill fast, and you can't just keep looting in all directions. That's why I have tried so desperately to, have different people from different perspectives on. In fact, I've even meant to get to it. Now I said I'm taking calls. We've got the Jim Hightower interview from the Nightly News. It was like 40 minutes long. It's 18-minute excerpts where, you know, they contacted us, wanted to come on. I tried to get him in here to convince him about the Second Amendment, but he wasn't, like, making fun of Charlton Heston and people. And, you know, wasn't just being completely nasty. And I understand that I get nasty sometimes, too, you know, calling Michael Moore disgusting and evil. Because watching him use the dead kids and saying, let's show their dead photos and let's destroy the Second Amendment and all this stuff, I mean, it really makes me angry because they know what they're doing. And there's a very good chance that Sandy Hook has some staging, provocateuring. There's no doubt on Aurora. There's just no doubt that is a mind control operation out in the open. That is a mind control operation out in the open. And it is just off the charts disgusting. In fact, you guys do have the Jim Hightower interview, don't you? Really? I mean, I had a meeting with Rob this morning about it. All right. Well, it's not a big deal. Well, it's a good thing I was just going to take calls then. Let's, who knows, maybe we'll air it in overdrive or something like that. Let's go ahead and talk to Wild Man in Texas. Wild Man, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Kudos to you and your crew. You've got a lot of talented people there. You're truly at the tip of the spear. I just wanted to comment on the Jim Carrey video. I normally like Jim Carrey. I thought he was a pretty funny guy. The deal is that when I looked at that, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I tried to put myself in his mindset and understand where he was coming from as an American. I don't think he truly understands how dangerous government is and all of that. I think that the comedy fell flat. Yeah, it certainly fell flat with me. It actually made me, I'll never see a Jim Carrey movie again in my life. I will. He's actually the Jane Fonda of this campaign here, you might say.
Well, I mean, we know the establishment right wing is authoritarian and power grabbing. It's that the left runs around saying they're these wonderful people, and they're a bunch of nasty, crazy people. And I'm just sick of them. I'm absolutely tired of it.
Yeah, I'd like to go off in another direction. I think one of you know, you have a great platform there. You have a lot of talented people. I'd like you to reflect on what worked in, you know, during the Vietnam War. There was a program called Laugh-In with Goldie Hawn and a lot of great comedians, and the satire was great. I think that would be the most effective. If you were to do something like that, that would be a very effective weapon that would probably get other people, you know, non-evil people within the administration or the halls of power to kind of listen to you and that sort of thing. Comedy is your best weapon, and that's all I got to say.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And it just somehow made me sick because it was so bizarro. It was so incredibly strange
yeah.
to see that and you know, to just see all the weird enjoyment of it. It's just crazy. I mean, Charlton Heston doesn't deserve to be treated like that. And if it was even like jokes about him, showing him like a crazy guy shooting guns, it'd be one thing. But he's going to hell, and he's a bad guy, and he's a piece of garbage, and all the rest of it, and the dead kids are his fault. And you know, they're saying it's our fault. I mean, they've said it's gun owners' fault, so I need to be killed, according to Buzz Bissinger, who spends $600,000 on women's clothes. You know, and again, it's people like, oh, you don't like people wearing women's clothes. It's just like, what is the point of that? I mean, go give it to homeless kids. I mean, let me tell you something. I mean, I'm embarrassed sometimes when I buy like a $100 shirt or a $300 jacket. You know, and I'm not even saying it's bad to own things. It's just that, like, it's just weird. It's like Imelda Marcos with, you know, 3,000 pairs of shoes. I don't know. I guess I got 5-6 pairs of boots. It's something weird about them because they're all like fat off the hog of the system while lecturing us all day we need to pay more taxes. I mean, that Michael Moore clip where he goes, there's these white people that make $50,000, $60,000 a year and they live in the countryside and they don't like black people's why they've got guns. They're scared white. What? Now, they've got lots of money, and so it's like a class warfare against people making $60,000 a year is now an evil rich guy by some guy worth, I don't know, some estimates $100 million, some are $50 million. I mean, it's screwed up, man. They're hypocrites. I appreciate your call. That's what gets to me. Let's talk to Joe in California. You're on the air, listening on KSCL 1340 AM. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, my quick question was, you probably heard it before, but why don't you take your movies to the big screens of the big cities? And if it's a money issue, why don't you start a fund on the Prison Planet where we could donate whatever we can to help fund that?
I'd love to go do speaking engagements. My issue is I have to be here to crank out the news, do the research, and try to build the TV end of this operation. I mean, it's just, I've got like over 100 reports I want to do. More than 100, and I've got them in lists and folders, and like, where are my little notebooks? There they are. Of just, it's total frustration, and I'm really listening to what Ted Nugent was saying about R&R. But I would love, it would be great to show thousands coming out all over the country. It would be great to show that to the media, but the establishment media already knows we're big. And again, it's grueling to fly through the TSA or driving an old bus we've got. It's a nice bus. It's like 12 years old. It's like the space shuttle. I got a good deal on it because it's impossible to upkeep, so I didn't really get a good deal on it. It's an okay deal. It's just that, the point is, actually, it wasn't the best deal I could get. I mean, comparable things were like twice as much. We got a really good deal on it. It still has some maintenance and things because it's custom. But it's just, I just don't have it in me. And I also like it once I go on the road, but it's also very stressful. Plus, I'm trying to train and build a crew so that it's not just, Alex Jones out here doing this. You see what I'm saying?
I do. And also, hey, I hear you saying you have that bus issues and the maintenance takes a lot of money, but you're helping us so much, all the listeners. You should rely on us to help you out.
Well, I mean, I drive. I've got a decent, Ford truck and a nice house out in the country and everything, and I'm trying to put. Pretty much this year, I'm trying to take every bit of money I get and put every bit of it into the fight. That's why we're talking about, putting out 1 million bumper stickers. I mean, I really want to give the globalists a run for their money. What I'm looking for, what's at the top of my hierarchy of needs, I have a chart of hierarchy of needs, is liberty and freedom and reigniting individualism. Because if we become individualist again, and if we're not pushovers again, and if we stand up for ourselves, then we can really build an incredible future together. And so that's what I'm attempting to do. I appreciate your call, Joe.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to play a little bit of Hightower and then maybe play some more of it in overdrive, come back in the next segment and take calls. But let's go ahead and go to some of the Jim Hightower interview from InfoWars Nightly News that Rob Jacobson put together. Here it is. And then we will go to break and come back. I got a chance to meet him years ago going on his radio show, and I've run into him around Austin. And anybody who lives in Texas knows who he is. Of course, people that watch national news know him as well. He's a best-selling author. He is known as the Road Warrior because he travels. He gives over 100 speeches a year. He was twice elected Texas Agriculture Commissioner as well. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, he really has an amazing bio. Jim Hightower here in studio on the Nightly News. And then, of course, we're also going to air some excerpts of this on the syndicated radio show. Great to have you, sir.
Great to be with you. Thank you, Alex.
I get the fact that America has been a swashbuckling, violent culture, and that guns are part of our culture. And I also understand the fact that overall violent crime has dropped 49% in the last 20 years because gun ownership's gone way up. They also said we took lead out of things. People aren't as violent. I think that feeds into it, as well, the whole lead effect. But this litmus test to say let's restrict guns, the reason Bloomberg has no credibility is he's speaking from a place that's a total abolition on guns. Same thing with Chicago, where they've taken all the guns and there's higher crime because criminals know that. I want you to take 3 or 4 minutes out where you stand on that, because here's the issue. I can get people arguing, oh, come on, let's not have crazy people get guns. But really, it's a way to register mine and take them, which has happened everywhere else. We know that the authoritarian bent of government, while it arms to the teeth, is to take our guns. And that's why all the even progressives, old-time liberals, true populists, not the fake progressives, they're all out getting guns. Jim Hightower, where do you stand on the Second Amendment? And has Obama and Dianne Feinstein jumped the shark going after the Second Amendment?
Well, I don't think Feinstein, well, I'm not sure, but forget them. I believe in the Second Amendment. I've been a hunter. I'm not now, for reasons having nothing to do with guns, but just not a hunter. And I believe in self-defense. I don't believe in assault weapons in the home. I don't see any need for that, and I think the Second Amendment people are hurting themselves by maintaining that. It's just too far beyond what is necessary.
Well, then how do we trust the state with it?
Well, trust the state. That's not...
See, if they weren't...
You can't trust
if
the
the government wasn't escalating its armament, there wouldn't be the Second Amendment argument that it was for tyranny. Do you see, as they escalate, we have to escalate.
Yeah, the 1.6 billion bullets, the Homeland Security.
Which they tried to deny. Isn't that even creaprier? No, go ahead and make your point. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Well, they tried to deny, and then they said, well, it's because you can get a better deal. 1.6 billion bullets.
Yes, so see why we need the guns?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, so you don't trust the government. You don't trust corporations. You don't trust power anywhere except as diffuse as you can possibly make it.
So in that argument for semi-autos?
No. I think that's too much.
Why do you think that?
But because semi-automatic weapons, you don't need it for defense. It's a... I don't know if you've seen any of what those bullets do. They just show any, of course. Of
they break up and things. But what about what about people are using them against criminals, have them against you?
Yeah.
Don't you need to be able to meet that force?
I think there's a lot of ways to do that, and I don't think that...
Well, Jim, I respect the work you've done, and I think you're a trailblazer, and for what you call populist liberals, I think you're about as good as it gets, and I like you. And I like a lot of your commentaries. I follow them, but I got to be honest. It's a litmus test for the Democratic Party to be anti-gun. And I think deep down, you know full well that it's about the individual. We can't collectively say everybody can't have these type of guns because people might do something wrong with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not against having guns at all. I'm for the Second Amendment. But I think the Second Amendment crusade hurts itself by defending these use of these assault weapons. I don't think they ought to be
Lanza at Sandy Hook reportedly he tried 5 times to get guns and then stole them from his mother.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to all these.
No, I agree.
So then how does all this new stuff?
You're not going to stop the crazy people either.
Well, what if Adam Lanza's coming and he's got an AR-15 and M4? Don't I need one to take him out? I mean.
Well, or you need luck. Or you need somebody else who's going to do something.
Trust in God, but roll away from the rocks.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. To me, the central issue facing us is that too few people have too much of the money and power, and they're using that against the rest of us.
But Jim, worldwide, the same corporations that are conquering America have taken everybody's guns, and they always say, be reasonable, give us semi-autos, and then nice guys like you, who are like, don't want to hurt a fly, don't want to hunt because you don't want to kill Bambi. It's funny, the older I get, the less I want to hunt. I get all that, but see, that's not where it's coming from. They're buying full auto. They're buying tanks. They're doing all this, and our founders said, you've got whatever the infantry weapon is to protect yourself. Are you worried about a civil war in this country?
Not yet, but there's, again, people are being knocked down so hard and being told that it's the new normal, that you've got to learn to live with this. You're not going to be middle class. Your kids are not going to be middle class. That there will be a rebellion over that. And that's not a war with bullets and guns. That is a war with economic power.
I agree. That's where the real power is. And the First Amendment's even more powerful. We need to use that so we don't get to the second. We have the cartridge box, the grand jury box, the jury box, the voting box. But we do have the cartridge box, and that's why the founders put it there. And I don't want it to go there, believe me.
The beauty of the drone issue is it's crossing all the lines, because Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, was standing up there.
They're now questioning Obama.
Yeah, well, of course. And the Democratic caucus has written a pretty scathing letter to the Obama administration saying, you really need to tell us a whole lot more about these things and what your plans are, because people are getting alarmed, because now we're learning that police agencies at all levels are wanting to get a hold of these little things. The New York Times called them Orwellian gnats, because they're talking about, not a few, they're talking about 30,000 of them by 2020 in our airspace. Now, this worries airline pilots, because how do we control these things? It worries the FAA. It worries all kinds of civil liberties people, right and left.
Did you see the Department of Defense video? If not, we'll show a short clip of it, where a drone flies over and drops out hundreds of little ones that land on the wire at your house and watch you?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. And they have another one called Swarm, and it's a series of drones that can keep track of large amounts of people. So they're certainly going to be used in demonstrations.
I'll tell you what, let's show a short clip of that.
Micro air vehicles, or MAVs, will play an important role in future warfare. MAVs will be integrated into future Air Force layered sensing systems. These systems may be airdropped or hand-launched, depending on the mission requirements. Multiple MAVs, each equipped with small sensors, will work together to survey a large area. Information from these sensors will be combined, providing the swarm of MAVs with a big picture point of view. Data will be communicated amongst the MAVs to enable real-time, reliable decision-making and to provide...
The Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
All right, let's try to run through a bunch of your phone calls. We're going to do a 4th hour of overdrive today that some stations do carry and is in the internet streams at Infowars.com. Richard Reeves is going to be in here talking about InfoWarsHealth.com and some really important developments on that front and a new study that's out, Clemson study. And it also supports the broadcast, and it's also a business opportunity for folks. So we're funded by listeners like you, who we really appreciate. These are stressful times, man. People know the world's in a major time of change, and the patriots have got to stick together and really fight hard for liberty. Let's talk to Glenn in Tennessee. You're on the air, listening on GCNlive.com. Go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, Alex. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
And a pleasure to be here, and I wanted to thank you. You have indeed woken a lot of people up, but I called today because I have a bit of a bone to pick with InfoWars on an article that I wrote last year that they used as one of their chief references, Ethan Huff, and that you have quoted on the show. And the meaning...
Okay, Glenn, what's the name of the article? Let me just get a pen here.
In Memoriam Andrew Wordis. You remember Andrew, the chicken man, they called him. Yes,
the guy they basically killed.
Well, they did indeed, and my point was the banality of evil in this country, and the internal enemy is more dangerous than the external, as bad as agenda.
But what did I do wrong? I sent reporters there to cover it, and I said it was wrong. They killed him.
You did.
What else can I do, man? I can't even keep track of what my own crew's doing half the time. It's not like I'm all-seeing, man.
I'll answer you if you'll allow me.
Go ahead.
It's the reporters you sent turned it into an Agenda 21 story when it really wasn't. If you listen to his friends and family, it was the banality of evil of local bureaucrats doing this.
I agree, and Agenda 21 empowers them with a more scientifically designed template to manifest their evil.
Yes, they do. But that was my point. I tried writing Ethan Huff to make the correction, and I never got a response. And that was.
Yeah, Ethan Huff doesn't write for us. We link to somebody's stuff. God bless you, sir. You know what? I am a piece of garbage. You're right. I'm a piece of filth, and I'm sorry that I didn't do more. I really am. I don't know what I could do. I don't know how I do it. I tried to stop. I don't like them killing people for chickens in their backyard that are legal, and I fought it. And I understand it's frustrating. But I'm a piece of garbage. It's true. Gary in Illinois, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
I'm doing all right, brother.
I'm 150% on y'all guys' side, man. Hey, check this out. My question is off the beaten path here. You know that place they found down there in the Ozarks and shit where Jesse and his crew went, right? Well, anyway, I was wondering about, do you know maybe what they painted them walls with? Could it be the same stuff that they used in the Twin Towers? Because it's no longer a conspiracy theory.
Well, we know that an NSA top guy has built a giant armored fortress, and they've been doing underground digging under it and hauling away tons of rock and dirt for 3 years. So they've got a large facility there, and they flip out if you get around it. And I just want to apologize to the last caller for that. It's my fault that's happening. So I'm apologize for the Ozark bunker. I'm being sarcastic. What'd you think of the Ted Nugent interview? Pretty powerful.
Man, Teddy's all the way. It's because of him my eyes are open, and Jesse and you, man. I appreciate it very much. You know.
Well, yeah, and I don't agree with everything Jesse Ventura says.
Not at all.
But he's a real guy. He loves liberty. He says when the government turns their guns in, I will. And it's the same thing with Ted Nugent. I don't agree with everything he says or does, you know, when he gets off into the Muslims and stuff, because the globalists run all that. But I'm trying to wake him up on that area. And he is a listener of the show. And so, you know, I'm able to then wake up all his fans by, you know, my whole deal is if people are real and can be gotten to wake up, and if they really want a better world, then I like them. But if they're fake, cold-blooded globalist, I'm their enemy. And so that's what it comes down to. I love real people. Thank you so much, Gary. Overdrive coming up. I'm going to come back with Mac and Devon and Brian, and then Richard Reeves is in here with some breaking information.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, let's jam in a bunch of calls in this little short segment. Then we've got breaking health news. Richard Reeves coming up. Very important information. Let's talk to Mac in Texas. Then I got to talk to Brian, who says ways to love the New World Order. I want to get on a big razor blade and slide down it into a pool of alcohol. That sounds like loving the New World Order. Mac, you're on the air from Tejas. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Hello. How you doing?
Good, sir. Welcome.
All right. Hey, it's nice to finally talk to you, man. I kind of feel like people go through when they talk to me for the first time. I feel like I've known you. I've only been listening to you for about 2 years, but you got me fired up 2 years ago, and I've been around Dallas. When I first heard about you and I started doing research, I bought a 100-pack of those business cards, and I've been leaving them on trains and passing them to people and taping them at schools, and I've been putting bumper stickers all over the place. But the reason I called today was two questions. One was, you're not on in Dallas anymore on 1630 AM, KKGM, and the only way I can listen to you is on the phone, and I believe in my heart it's really important for you to be on, especially in a city like Dallas that is heavily steeped in the occult. With everything.
No, we were on in Dallas, I don't know, like 2.5, 3 years, and then they changed formats, and that's just the way things like that go. It's just unfortunate that it's not the general manager, it's the guy's father, who owns stations across the country. I think, and also it's not good to go on Christian stations and say that there's not that it's a post-tribulation rapture. I mean, I'm just guessing what it could be, but that's just unfortunate. But affiliates come and go. That's why we have the free iPhone app, the free Droid apps, and the listen page, Infowars.com/listen. And that's why we make the films, and that's why we have the YouTube videos, and it's why, because affiliates come and go. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we become #1 in a city. Even on a small station, we'll beat Rush Limbaugh. In Rochester, New York, or in places in Florida like Orlando, or in places like San Diego, and then the station just says, "Y'all, you're off." Yeah, that was just a management decision. Yeah, see, being #1 is a problem when you're telling the truth. They always say just get the highest ratings, and you'll be the top of the heap, and that's not how it works. You've got to be interesting and get ratings and push what they want. But notice Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, all of them are having to more and more sound like Alex Jones. You see, I'm not changing, they're changing. And I'm going to completely force through their audiences, that's my greatest success, to the grace of God, is that I now hear myself when I tune into Glenn Beck. I now hear myself on Rush Limbaugh. I now hear myself on Michael Savage. I now, more and more, the ideas of our guests, the callers, myself, of Real Liberty, we are taking them over, not the other way around. And it's happening. And it's thanks to drudgereport.com and other people that, really love liberty. And does it mean Drudge is perfect? Does it mean I'm perfect? Does it mean World Net Daily is perfect? No. But you know what? We're pro-private property rights. We're pro-family. We're pro-gun. We're pro-national sovereignty. And we're getting down to the end game here for the globalist. And this is a life-risking event for me. I mean, make no mistake. I'm out of time. Thank you, caller. I'm sorry. Brian, real quick, tell me how to love the New World Order. Go ahead. Well, that...
Do it. Matthew 5, chapter 43 says, you've heard it said to love your neighbor and hate your enemy. I tell you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you. Don't even, he says, what reward will you get if you only love your
Yeah, but Jesus also beat the money changers with a bullwhip, with a cat or nine tail, and overturned their tables. He said, go buy a sword. It's all in the time. It's like when he turns the other cheek, they were going to set him up and kill him. It was all teaching us. And those that have ears to hear, we understand it. The others don't. All right, coming in the seat right here, Richard Reeves. Stay with him.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Welcome back to Infowars.com. I am your guest host here, Richard Reeves. What an honor and privilege to be thrown into the hot seat here. And welcome everybody for staying into Overdrive. And if you missed the earlier hours of today's show, make sure and catch the archive. Make sure and catch the repeats, the YouTubes, the archives of Infowars.com today. Alex Jones had a fantastic interview with Ted Nugent on earlier today, and it was just awesome. You'll definitely want to hear everything they had to say in that interview. Folks, thank you for joining us. We are live still in this fourth hour of Overdrive, and we've invited a very special guest on today with us, Tom Chenault with Longevity, one of the big distributors with Longevity, also part of our InfoWars team as an honorary member of InfoWarsTeam.com. So we've got Tom on with Skype on us. And a little bit about Tom before we intro Tom is he's got his own radio show. He's had the longest running radio show on the home business side of the home business network side of the business. Tom Chenault has had the longest-running home-based business show. I'm sorry, I got a little bit nervous there. But anyway, Tom has had a long-running show based about home business, and he covers it like no other. I've heard his show many times on GCNlive.com, and he's covered this like for 20-plus years. And plus, he's been a big distributor with Longevity now going on 15-plus years, so he can really talk about the ins and outs of the business. One thing that has prompted us to have Tom on and invite him on is because the InfoWars team has had so much interest lately from preferred customers out there on InfoWars team in becoming distributors. There are more and more people interested in becoming distributors to learn about how to promote InfoWars team and how to promote InfoWars Health and get more products out there, more great health products out there. So Tom has had the long-running radio show. He's also, he was a great salesman of very highly successful corporate salesman selling aircraft for the Beach Aircraft Company. So he's had a pretty amazing variant jobs during his life, varying levels of career in his life. He also went on to become a stockbroker during the dot-com heyday of the 1980s. He got into network marketing 24 years ago and was named one of the top 25 network marketers in the world by the Multi-Level Marketing International Association. He has the longest home-running base business radio show, as I mentioned earlier, and he's heavily involved in industry associations in an attempt to slow down and show that network marketing is an important and profitable career. Folks, I've looked at a lot of business opportunities lately to see what's out there competing with InfoWars Team and InfoWars Health. I know a lot of folks have looked at real estate and things like that, and I had an interesting comparison come up with real estate where you can get leveraged and end up borrowing about $100,000 to leverage a nice piece of property or maybe even a fixer-upper. Nowadays, $100,000 gets you a fixer-upper, and you may end up, after you've gone all in and invested all your cash, you may have an opportunity to have $300 or $400 cash flow after you've invested $5,000 or $10,000 of your own dollars, plus put your credit on the line to the tune of $100,000. So when you compare those opportunities like that, as good as real estate is, let me tell you, folks, I don't really want to knock real estate either, because many, many millionaires have been made in real estate. It's really amazing how many investors have really done well with real estate. But when you hear the opportunity that InfoWars team, InfoWars Health, deliver above and beyond with way less risk and more opportunity, I tell you, it really gets people fired up. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce Tom Chenault. Tom, are you on the line with us?
I'm right here. How you doing, Richard Reeves? It's an honor to be on the show. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, Tom, thank you for being willing to come on. And as I stated earlier, we just have more and more people that are asking, how do I become distributors? Is that a question that you're getting a lot nowadays?
Yeah, I hear it a ton, and the reason is because it's the last house on the block. Everybody expected so many things to be the solution to their problem, whether it was 401k or their job or whatever it is, and quite frankly, everything else is failing us. And it's great to want to buy real estate, you know, and I like buying real estate. You know, I buy gold, I buy silver, I buy all that stuff. But guess what? It takes money to buy that. And when your income's getting cut back, it's a little bit impossible to think about buying things that are going to create residual income. You can't participate in an oil drilling program, buy a rental house, or buy gold and silver if you don't have excess cash. And that's why people are flocking to the InfoWars team.
Yes, Tom, I agree with you. And we do get those emails every day. If you go to InfoWars team, InfoWars Health, and you are a preferred customer and you want to see about becoming a distributor, just check on there on those websites, InfoWars Health, InfoWarsTeam.com, and you will find an email there, Catherine at InfoWars Team. She can help you and take the steps to upgrade from preferred customer and distributor. There's the website right there. By the way, the InfoWarsHealth.com product order line, in case you don't have a computer, it's 1-888-789-9277, 1-888-789-9277. But Tom, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. You know, we started talking about how many folks really are jumping on board into becoming distributors of the products. But one of the main reasons that's happening is because of this Clemson study that just came out here in early January of 2013. The Clemson study came out where they're talking about two of the keystone products of longevity, and InfoWars Health, InfoWars Team, are the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the Ultimate Classic. And it showed how in multiple situations with the cancerous colon cells, cancerous liver cells, cancerous stomach cells, cancerous breast cells, that these two products are really reducing those numbers of cells. And so this Clemson study really has prompted an influx of more interest into the company. Tom, can you elaborate on that?
Well, it's one of those studies that wasn't paid for by the companies. You hear about, especially, you know, it's ridiculous that you take a look at the pharmaceutical companies that fund all these studies and end up obviously getting paid big, big money, and that's how they keep us sick. And this is a whole different conversation. Clemson did not get paid to do that study on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the various longevity products. They chose longevity because they wanted to test something that was already generating great results. And all you need to do is call somebody or email somebody over at the Alex Jones team, InfoWars team, and you're going to be able to get a copy of that Clemson study where you can read with your own eyes exactly what was said by them about these products. I mean, I don't make product claims, never thought about doing that. All I can tell you is if you can read, you're going to say to yourself, I have got to have my loved ones and myself on these great products. That study is that much of a testimonial.
Well, folks, I'll tell you, I personally joined on the InfoWars team back in January 2011 when Alex first started promoting InfoWars team, and that was in January 2011. He had Doc Wallach on his first interview there during that time, and I signed up right away, and I joined up as part of the team, and I've been getting some variant of the Healthy Start Pack ever since, and I'll tell you, it's really, really been great, and the number of testimonials that I hear from preferred customers of InfoWars team all the time are amazing. As a matter of fact, I remember about a year ago, a little over a year ago, we went to Dallas and did a live event in Dallas, and Alex spoke at the event there at the Lakewood Theater, And I remember during the Q&A that there was at least one person. There were several people with testimonials for the InfoWars team products. There's quite a few testimonials, but one in particular that I really recall that he credited Alex in bringing forth these products to his awareness as saving one of his relatives' lives. I mean, that's how great these products are and how helpful and beneficial they have been to a lot of people, that this person stood up there and said, you saved, and I don't remember which of his relatives he said, but he said, you saved their life with you bringing their awareness about the need for supplements, the need for nutrition, and bringing these products on board and aware to the Infowars.com public and audience. So it was really a powerful statement that night. And Tom, I'm sure you hear a lot of those testimonials as well.
It's constant. You know, the neat thing about building a home-based business around a product that is this emotional is you hear stories like that every day. And we are so nutritionally deficient as a society out there that anybody that gets out there and starts drinking the Beyond Tangy Tangerine or any one of the longevity products, they're going to notice immediate results. And it's going to be exciting because we are starving to death. There's no nutrition in the foods. There's no nutrition in the soils. So they've got to go someplace. And Dr. Wallach and Steve Wallach, the team behind longevity, I am telling you, they have delivered a product line that just anybody can sell. And that's the exciting thing about being involved as a business building longevity rep. You've got the ability to sell and get paid on a product that's far better than you are a salesman.
Tom, I couldn't say that any better, and you always have a great way with words on those type of things. One of the things that you wanted to talk about were the reasons for the stigma behind network marketing. Why do a lot of people have kind of a negative view on network marketing? What's caused that over the years? You've been involved in this industry for many years. Give us a breakdown on that.
I've got 25 years in the industry, and it is really an unbelievably great industry that you don't ever want to tell anybody in the past that you were involved with. And the reason was because there was a predecessor company called Amway out there. Great company. They're doing billions of dollars a year, but they just literally sneaked up on everybody on the planet. So everybody's afraid of being one of those kinds of guys. And I'm telling you, you don't need to be one of those kinds of people. You've got a product that you can absolutely scream from the rooftops with us. But the reason people failed wasn't that. The reason 99% of the people fail out there is because they didn't have the team support. And the cool thing is with the InfoWars team, the training is in place. It's literally automated, and all you need to do is get in the system and do what the InfoWars team people teach you to do, and you're going to start building literally overnight. It is exciting.
Tom, I tell you, it is exciting. We're about to go to break. We've got one more segment left with Tom Chenault. Folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Alex Jones. Myself, my family, the Infowars.com team want to relay to you and your families that we are intensifying our efforts against the globalist on every front. Infowars.com is leading the fight against the technocrats. But we can't do that without your help. By getting the films, bumper stickers, and T-shirts at Infowars.com, you will wake up people in your area and support our operation as we move to the next level. We need your help to spread the word like never before. They wish to hide themselves during this tectonic battle between the forces of freedom and darkness. You are the response to the globalist technocrats and their program of global eugenics, dehumanization, and ultimate extermination. The war is here. It's an info war. The spirit of 1776 versus the mindset of 1984.
Attention men, if you're urinating more often or waking at night to urinate, we want to send you a free bottle of Beta Prostate. Beta Prostate is our best-selling supplement, made with a natural ingredient that supports healthy urine flow and more complete bladder emptying. It's also been shown to reduce waking at night from the urge to urinate. To find out how to get your free bottle, just call 800-607-6984. Since Beta Prostate debuted, our warehouse has shipped over 2 million bottles. But there are still men who have yet to discover this amazing supplement. That's why for a limited time, you can try a full 30-day supply of Beta Prostate free. You only pay shipping and handling. This free Beta Prostate giveaway is only available while supplies last. And once it's gone, it's gone. Just call 800-607-6984. That's 800-607-6984. Call 800-607-6984.
Hi, this is John O'Toole with Midas Resources Gold and Silver Company. We have all heard of Rand Paul warning of an imminent currency crisis as a result of reckless spending on Capitol Hill and endless wars overseas. But what are we doing to prepare for it? China, India, and numerous other countries are buying up gold and silver by the ton because they know what's really going on. Don't you think it's time you do the same thing before it's too late? Call me, John O'Toole, today at 1-800-686-2237, extension 133, and find out why gold and silver have been the true safe havens for over 5,000 years. That's 1-800-686-2237, extension 133. I'll send you a booklet highlighting 10 reasons why gold and silver are the only way to preserve your purchasing power. Again, that's 1-800-686-2237, extension 133.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend, you're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-501-0876. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-501-0876. That's 1-800-501-0876. 1-800-501-0876.
You've got it. This transmission is coming to you. All right, you are go. All right, you are go.
Welcome back, folks, to the Alex Jones Show, Infowars.com. I am your guest host, Richard Reeves. And once again, I want to thank Alex Jones for plopping me in this Attila the Hun T-Rex of political talk chair here. It's a pretty scary thing to try to think about. But anyway, here I am. And we've got Tom Chenault, our special guest. We're live. This is our last segment today, March 26th of 2013. And make sure and tune in to the earlier hours of the Alex Jones Show today. He had a great interview with Ted Nugent. Pretty awesome show there. I think they went on for about an hour and a half. So don't miss the earlier 3 hours of the show today. Make sure and catch one of those archives and tune in. All right, we've got Tom. And Tom, we've only got about 5 minutes left here before we're going to wrap up this show. And one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, what exactly is a professional network marketer?
You know, somebody that takes this business really, really seriously. You've got Alex Jones out there, and he is creating a cause. He's got a mission, and the guy works nonstop. And supporting him with InfoWarsTeam.com and going out there and talking about this nutrition, taking our health back, taking our money back, and taking our time back takes some training. And the way that you do that is you become a professional network marketer. And the cool thing about that is the systems are in place already at InfoWarsTeam.com. We just need people for the chairs. And if you'll just jump in and call Catherine or call Richard or call Alex and just say, I want to learn a little bit more about what it is you're talking about being a professional network marketer and leading a team on this cause called better nutrition, more time, more money. I'll tell you what, we'll train you. We'll teach you how to teach people how to do this business, because this isn't one of those things where you're jamming something down the throats of your friends and family. We're going to train you to deliver a professional message to people. that lets them understand exactly what's at stake if they don't do it, which is loss of time, loss of money, loss of health. And we're going to get you involved with the products, and we're going to get you involved with this cause, and you're going to help Alex Jones, you're going to help Richard, you're going to help Catherine, and you're going to help a whole lot more other people help themselves. And we'll teach you how to do that. That's the simple, short story.
And that's really the key, simple, short story. Some of the folks, one of the folks who got left out, and you're going to be helping Doc Wallach, especially on his mission. He's been on this mission to help get people on board with their health for 20, 25, 30 years. He really is on the cutting edge of getting things figured out, why people are obese, why people are sick, why people are tired. And he's really getting that dialed in. Doc Wallach's mission, Alex Jones' mission. Folks, when you get on the board with InfoWars team and InfoWarsHealth.com, you are helping Alex Jones and Doc Wallach. And don't forget, with Doc Wallach, he's gone against the FDA 6 or 7 times. Tom, how many times against the FDA?
It's too many to count. And who he is, if you really want to describe Dr. Wallach in language people can understand, he could be described as the Alex Jones of nutrition. He is not afraid to look anybody in the eye and state what he believes to be true, no matter what the consequences. We need more people like him on this planet. And when we meet a message that needs told, Alex's or Dr. Wallach's, we need to lock arms and tell that story. And that's why I'm on here today, is to try to help find some leaders to help us kick this message out to the world. So, yeah.
And Tom, fortunately, more leaders are arising out of the ranks of InfoWars team. We want to thank all y'all out there that have been on InfoWars team for more than 2 years now, and InfoWars Health in the last 6 to 8 months. Those organizations are both growing very rapidly. And folks, I want to let everybody know also, those of you that have been active, we've got the convention coming up May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Get a chance to meet Tom and Doc Wallach and a whole host of folks. Mary Lou Hender's going to be there. Who all else is going to be there, Tom, during the convention?
How about Ben Fuchs? How about Dr. Peter Glidden, Dr. Wallach, the whole management team? I mean, it's Theo Ratliff, the basketball player that's on the show a lot. I mean, it's going to be over the top, and you're going to get to actually meet, and all the team. I mean, you take a look at the Laura Chagaris and the people that are inside of your team right now. It is amazing how many great people that have come together to spread the cause of InfoWarsTeam.com. I mean, it is crazy, and all you need to do is plug in, get to Las Vegas, and it'll be a blast.
Tom, we've got about 30 seconds left. What would you like to close out with?
I'm just telling you, if you do nothing else today, go to InfoWarsTeam.com, send them an email, tell them you want to explore the possibility of becoming a team leader for the Alex Jones, Dr. Wallach message. Thanks, Richard.
Tom, thank you so much for coming on. Folks, don't miss the earlier 3 hours of the show with Alex Jones and Ted Nugent, a very powerful program. And make sure and tune in tomorrow to Infowars.com and follow
march.
Tom's advice and visit InfoWars team.
Run.
Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Introducing Pro